New song drop, boys. I have spent every night of the past week working on this latest song, The Beast of Angband. I gotta plug it. I'm gonna plug it into the chat. Listen to at your leisure. It has taken my mind off of some things. Life has not been nice to me lately, but things are looking better and going ahead. I did take a small break from streaming, but you stop watching Gundam for this, so you're not gonna want to miss this, man. Gundam will always be there. Gundam's been there for like 40 years. It'll be there for another 40. Don't worry, it'll still be there. But this is potentially a once or twice in a lifetime opportunity to watch. This. Now, it's also my understanding that this game, first off, I had to finagle with OBS for this shit, because OBS was not wanting to pick this game up. Apparently, games that are made on Chromium, or programs that are made on Chromium, you have to use specifically OBS's window capture. You can't use like game capture or anything like that. Over 50, oh I'm sorry, 50 years. I'm sorry. 50 years. I'll be here for another 50. A century of Gundam. That's fucked, dude. We're gonna live to see, or probably, I hope, live to see Gundam turn 100 years old. And you know what? It's probably not gonna go anywhere either. It'll be one of those IPs that just sticks around fucking forever. I like One Piece. No shade on One Piece fans. Yes, so. It's my understanding that this game does not actually have any music. It's just going to be our special guest star, Eddie Marsan. Marsan? It sounds like a French last name. Marsan? Eddie Marsan. He's British though. And his chair. And maybe some dice on the screen. And some images. But it's also my understanding that there's not going to be any music. So, I'm going to turn on Mystic Dungeon. We're going to leave that as some background ambience for Mr. Marsan while he tries to kill me in this tabletop game. Bullshit on One Piece fans, your anime is too long. I think that might be one of the biggest reasons I never got into One Piece. First off, I don't know where to start. I mean, you should start from the beginning. But second off, it is... For anybody who likes One Piece, you will always hear One Piece fans say that there's too much damn filler in that shit, and there's specific stuff you're supposed to skip. I could look up a guide and see what I'm supposed to skip, but I'm too lazy. I'm not gonna do that. Yes, let's get this game started. Mr. Eddie Marsan, take it away. It should just pop up. Don't do anything else with it.
Despite its name, Fang was an ordinary small town in a northern province of Chiang Mai, situated on the banks of a river.
There you go.
It made a convenient stopover for river traders and passengers throughout most of the year.
I think that's just a cold open. There's no menu.
Barges, rafts, and sometimes even a large sailboat could usually be found moored at Fang. But all that was long ago, before the creation of the Trial of Champions. Now, once a year, the river is crowned with boats as people arrive from hundreds of miles around, hoping to witness the breaking of an ancient tradition and see a victor in the Trial of Champions.
That's gonna be me, just so you know. Full spoilers ahead. I'm gonna try anyway. Tell me more about it, Mr. Eddie.
On the 1st of May each year, warriors and heroes come to Fang to face the test of their lives. Survival is unlikely, yet many take the risk, for the prize is great. A purse of 10,000 gold pieces and the freedom of Chiang Mai forever. But to become champion is no easy task.
10,000
Some years ago, a powerful baron of Fang called Sukhumvit decided to bring attention to his town by creating the ultimate contest. With the help of the townspeople, he constructed a labyrinth deep in the hillside behind Fang, from which there was only one exit. The labyrinth was filled with all kinds of deadly tricks and traps and loathsome monsters. Sukhumvit had designed it in meticulous detail, so that anybody hoping to face its challenge would have to use their wits as well as weapon skills.
Wits? Oh, I'm already fucked.
When he was finally satisfied that all was complete, he put his labyrinth to the test. He picked 10 of his finest guards and, fully armed, they marched into the labyrinth. They were never seen again. The tale of the ill-fated guard soon spread throughout the land, and it was then that Sukhumvit announced the first trial of champions.
This guy's good.
Messengers and news sheets carried his challenge, 10,000 gold pieces and freedom of Chiang Mai forever to any person surviving the perils of the labyrinth of Fang. The first year, 17 brave warriors attempted the walk, as it later became known. Not one reappeared. As the years passed and the trial of champions continued, it attracted more and more challengers and spectators. Fang prospered and would prepare itself months in advance for the spectacle it hosted each May. The town would be decorated, tents erected, dining halls built, musicians, dancers, fire eaters, illusionists, and every sort of entertainer hired, and entries registered from hopeful individuals intent on making the walk.
The Walk.
The last
The
week
Log
of
Walk
April
by Stephen King.
found the people of Fang and its visitors in wild celebration. Everybody sang, danced, and laughed until the day broke on the 1st of May, when the town thronged to the gates of the labyrinth to watch the first challenger of the year step forward to face the trial of champions. Having seen one of Sukhumvit's challenges nailed to a tree, you decide that this year
Arctic. Looks Arctic, it's that guy from that
movie. For the last 5 years, you have been attracted to it not for the rewards, but for the simple fact that nobody has ever yet emerged victorious from the labyrinth. You intend to make this the year in which a champion is crowned.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's do it.
Gathering up a few belongings, you set off immediately. 2 days' walk takes you west to the coast, where you enter the cursed port Black Sand. Wasting no time in that city of thieves, you buy your passage on a small boat sailing north,
and we leave
to where the river Coke meets the sea.
Coke? I would have
pronounced
it like that.
Upriver for 4 days,
the river
until
died
finally you arrive in Fang. The trial begins in 3 days' time.
Oh shit!
And the town is in an almost hysterical mood of excitement. You register your entry with the officials and are given a violet scarf to tie around your arm, informing everyone of your status. For 3 days, you enjoy Fang's greatest hospitality and are treated like a demigod. During the long merriment, you almost forget your purpose in Fang. But the evening before the trial, the magnitude of the task ahead begins to dominate your thoughts. Later, you are taken to a special guest house and are shown your room. There is a splendid 4-poster bed with satin sheets to help you rest.
Satin? Bougie.
But there is little time left for sleep. Just before dawn, a trumpet call awakens you from vivid dreams of flaming pits and giant black spiders. Minutes later, there is a knock on your door.
Sounds pretty typical.
And a man's voice rings out saying, "Your challenge begins soon. Please be ready to leave in 10 minutes.
I was naked anyway.
You climb out of bed, walk over to the window and open the shutters. Already people are thronging the street. Moving quietly through the morning mist.
Knocking just must be alright.
No doubt on their way to the labyrinth, hoping to find good vantage points from which to watch the competitors. Walking over to a wooden table on which your trusty sword and shield lie, you pick them up and cut the air with a mighty sweep, wondering which beasts your sword's sharp edge may soon
There we
have to
go.
meet.
I'm armed and dangerous.
You open the door into the corridor, and a small man greets you with a low bow as you emerge from your bedroom. "Please follow
Fear
me," he said.
the tube.
He turns to his left and walks quickly towards the stairs at the end of the corridor.
Be careful, Eddie. I'm a VTuber. More specifically,
Walking
PNG
through a
tuber.
parting in the crowds,
Ooh.
you see Baron Sukhumvit himself, standing by the entrance waiting to greet the contender.
Look at that little thing.
You count 5 others.
Is that a
standing
goblin? A
proudly
man?
in line,
What is that?
their violet scarves displayed for all to see.
Look at this big bastard.
There are 2 bare-chested barbarians dressed in furs. They stand completely motionless, legs straight and slightly apart, arms thrust forward to rest on the hilts of their long, double-headed battle axes. A sleek elven woman with golden hair
I'm assuming
and
that's her.
feline green eyes is adjusting the crossbelt of daggers wrapped around her leather tunic. Of the 2 remaining men, one is covered from head to foot in iron plate armor, with a plumed helmet and a crested
Okay, this
shield.
one on the far right.
The
The
other
whole thing is
covered
in the morning for my
black
energy
robes,
drink, right? It
only
really does
his
feel like
dark
that.
eyes showing between the swarms of his black-faced scars. Long knives, a wire garrote, and other silent death weapons hang from his belt. The 5 contenders acknowledge your arrival with almost imperceptible nods of the head, and you turn to face the exultant crowd for the last time.
Ah, breathe it in.
Suddenly,
Bathe in
a
my
hush
radiance.
falls over the crowd.
Your champion stands
As
before you.
Baron Succumbit steps forward, holding 6 bamboo sticks. You draw one from his outstretched hand, and you read the word, 5th.
Oh, we're drawing lots. 5th?
Then the trial.
But I'm the 4th survivor, man. Come on, Eddie.
The
Come
knight
on,
is
Eddie.
first. He salutes the crowd before disappearing into the tunnel, and is followed half an hour later by the elf. Next goes a barbarian, and then the dark assassin. Next,
That smell was your radiance.
It's your
That
turn.
smell is Savage.
but before embarking on
Ideal.
your adventure, we must first determine your own strengths and weaknesses.
Ooh, stats.
You have in your possession a sword,
Yeah, I got it right
a
here.
shield,
Okay.
and a backpack for carrying provisions for the trip.
That's all I need.
You have been preparing for your quest by training yourself in swordplay and exercising vigorously.
Oh, hell yeah.
To see how effective your preparations have been, dice will be rolled to determine your skill, stamina,
Skill,
and luck
stamina,
scores.
and luck. Okay.
Or,
Three stats.
if you wish to begin your adventure immediately, you can choose between 3 ready-made adventurers.
No, let's roll. I want to roll for this shit. Roll for skill, stamina, and luck. Let's roll, Eddie.
First, we'll roll for your initial level of skill. This reflects your sword skill and fighting expertise, and will be determined by rolling 1 die and adding 6.
Okay, let's go for a 10. I'm gonna go for a 10. I want 10 minimum. Okay, I can reroll at least. Reroll. Come on, 80. Give me a 10. Okay, we're getting there. 8. 9. Where's the 10, Eddie? There we go. 10. What if I rerolled again? Oh, shit! Dude, there we go. Alright, we're keeping that one. No worries, Eddie. Max sword skill. Continue stamina.
Next, we'll roll for your initial stamina, which represents your strength. So the higher your stamina score, the longer you will survive. This will be determined by
okay.
rolling 2 dice and adding 12.
Damn, okay. So max 24. Alright. Reroll for stamina. Oh shit! The gifted subs. Twitch has a gifted subs campaign going on right now, right? Or something like some of the sort. Dude, check out those subs. 5 gifted subs from the Doom Guide. This dungeon boss, he's not so bad, is he? Sometimes he's pretty generous. Sometimes. What did I roll? 20. So it was 2 dice plus 12. Okay, that's actually a really good roll. Okay, I'm gonna hold on to that. Luck roll.
Next,
The next
we'll
strongest
roll for
stat.
your initial luck, which represents how lucky an adventurer you are. Luck and magic are facts of life in the fantasy world you're about to explore. This is determined by rolling 1 die and adding 6.
So max of 12. Okay. High level adventures make for higher level undead. Yeah, that's true. You're supposed to empower what you're gonna farm, or you kill them. Or you roll for. Wait, what did I get? 12. Wait, it was 1 die and 6, so that's shit. Okay. I maxed out my luck, dude. This is already all of my favorite. Eddie, you have no chance. I'm making it to the end of this dungeon.
You may also take a magical potion with you to aid you on your quest.
Shit, potions, okay.
Each bottle of potion contains 2 measures, so can be used twice during an adventure. You can choose from a potion of skill that restores your skill points to their initial amount.
You can lose skill
potion
points?
Of strength that restores your stamina points to their initial amount.
Right.
Or a potion of fortune that not only restores your luck points to their initial amount, but will also increase your initial luck score by 1 each time it's used.
So so I knew that stamina was going to be drained by the way you described it. So I can restore stamina to max, restore skill. Apparently I can lose sword skill. Or I can restore luck, and luck increases every time it's used by 1, up to a max of 14 it'll be. My initial thought is to take the strength one, but well, half of everything is luck, right?
Lastly, before you begin your quest, you are given enough provisions for 10 meals. When you eat a meal, your stamina score will increase by 4 points. But don't forget, your stamina can never exceed the initial amounts you've just set.
Okay, I got near max.
You have a long way to go, so use your provisions wisely.
10 meals, plus 4 each time.
During your adventure,
restoration.
You'll enter into combat a number of times, and the further you go, the tougher your opponents will be. Combat takes place over several rounds.
And I can count the pores on his skin.
Strength is based on yours and your enemy's skill scores. For each round of battle, we'll roll 2 dice for you and 2 for your opponent, adding the results to your skill scores. These are your respective attack strengths. Whoever's attack strength is the highest wins that round of combat. If you both had the same attack strength in a round, then it will be a tie.
No
in some
tiebreaker?
battles, you can take an opportunity to escape. But beware. If you do run away, your opponent will automatically score 1 hit on you as you flee,
Disengage.
costing you 2
attack.
stamina points.
Or attack of
So
opportunity.
be
Yes,
sure
that's
you have enough. Such is the price of cowardice.
cowardice, he says. Retreat is not defeat. That is
You
the
are
rule of the dungeon.
playing using the new battle system, where the battle takes place over 3 rounds. Your sheer battle-hardened nature will mean you'll always win the battle after the 3 rounds, but every round you lose will cost you 2 stamina points. So be careful. Losing all your stamina will still be fatal. At the start of each round,
I'm having regrets.
you'll have a short time to decide
I'm
to
thinking maybe I
fight,
should have took the stamina
or to
potion.
build up your stamina by
Some of the
eating
side
your
quests.
provisions or taking a potion, if you have one.
Got the chill girl emote. I'm sure. Okay, so 3 rounds. You compare your scores after dice rolling. Whoever has the higher one hits. If it's a tie, nothing happens. After 3 rounds, I win automatically. But I can still lose stamina. Stamina hits 0, I die. I probably should have taken the stamina potion, but that's fine. We'll play this.
Now it is your turn
right, Eddie.
to salute the crowd.
Salute.
Holding your
Thank
violet
you.
scarf aloft,
Thank you.
you take one final deep breath of cool, fresh air before turning to
This is the emo you
pass
got me,
between
dude.
a stone-pillared gateway into Succumbit's corridors of power to face unknown perils on the walk through the mighty barrens. Deathtrap.
Deathtrap dungeon looks at camera. I mean, he's always looking at the camera. Branching Narrative presents the Deathtrap Dungeon. Eddie Marsan. Ian Livingstone. That name sounds familiar. Who's Ian Livingstone? Is it Ian?
The clamour of the excited spectators gradually fades behind you as you venture deep into the gloom of the cavern. Large crystals hang from the tunnel roof at 20-meter intervals, radiating just enough soft light for you to see your way. As your eyes gradually become accustomed to the near darkness, you begin to see movement all around. Spiders and beetles crawling up and down the chiseled walls disappear quickly into cracks and crevices as they sense your approach. Rats and mice scurry along the floor ahead of you. Droplets of water drip into small pools with an eerie plopping sound which echoes down the tunnel. The air is cold, moist, and dank. After walking slowly along the tunnel for about 5 minutes, you arrive at a stone table standing against the wall to your left. On it, there are 6 boxes, one of which has your name painted on its lid.
Well, shit, someone left me a present. I'm going to open the box.
The lid of the box lifts off easily, and inside you find 2 gold pieces and a note written on a small piece of parchment addressed to you. After placing the gold in your pocket, you read the message, which says, "Well done. At least you had the sense to stop and take advantage of the token aid given to you.
Right?
Now I can advise you that you will need to find and use several items if you hope to pass triumphantly through my Deathtrap dungeon. Signed, Succumbit." Memorizing the advice on the note, you tear it into tiny pieces and continue north along the tunnel, where you come to a junction. A white arrow painted on one wall points west. On the floor, you can see wet footprints made by those who entered before you. It's hard to be sure, but it looks as though 3 of them followed the direction of the arrow, while one decided to go east.
So I don't know why this Lord Succumbit is Baron Succumbit is helping me. What? Always left is my rule of thumb.
Following the 3 sets of wet footprints along the west passage of the tunnel, you soon arrive at a junction.
So the 3rd set of footprints that goes north, 2 sets that continue west. I'm gonna continue going west, because that means it turns right to go north. I don't know if there's backtracking in this module, but we'll continue west.
Walking along the tunnel, you are surprised to see a large iron bell hanging down from the ceiling.
Oh shit, there's a map! Okay. I'm assuming these are quick saves. Usually that symbol means save. Oh, okay, so these are checkpoints. Okay, I see. Okay, so if I die, I don't go back to the beginning. I go back to the last checkpoint. Okay, cool. Let's ring the bell.
A dull bong sounds from the bell like
What?
a death toll. Everything
What are you
around
saying?
you begins to vibrate.
Eddie!
You grit your teeth as your head starts to shudder.
Say again?
Your whole body is trembling.
Eddie, I see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you.
Losing 2 skill points and 2 stamina points.
2?
You quiver and shake, writhing convulsively on the floor as the vibrations intensify.
I'll ring the bell.
You search
Eddie, stop.
desperately for a way of stopping
Stop it, Eddie.
the bell.
Scream as loud as you can. I'm gonna kick the boot, or kick the bell.
You pull your boot off your foot and force yourself to reach up and hold it against the bell.
That sounds good, Eddie.
And slowly, the bell stops vibrating, and the pain in your body gradually eases. You manage to stand up, but you do not release your boot from the bell until it becomes completely still.
Okay.
You put your boot back on and continue your journey west.
Do not ring the bell.
The tunnel
more ringing
veers
bells.
sharply to the right and continues north for as far as you can see. You hear a tremendous commotion in the distance, growling and snarling and howling. You draw your sword and set off in the direction of the noise.
Oh, it's time for a fight. Let's do this.
Ahead, in the dim light, you see two hobgoblins fighting, punching, and kicking each other furiously.
He's got him by the fucking leg.
Next to where the hobgoblins are fighting, there is a leather bag lying on the floor. And it seems to be this that they are fighting over.
Try to talk to them. As if. Attack them with your sword. That sounds good. Try to slip by them unnoticed. No, I'm not stealthing this. Give me here.
Caught in their scuffle, they are completely unprepared for your attack. And you are able to kill the first one before he can draw his sword.
Oh, fuck yeah. Goblin
You
Slayer.
turn to face the remaining hobgoblin, who snarls at you with hatred.
I can just eat. Attack! Oh, we're timed. Give me your hobgoblin.
The hobgoblin runs at you, but you
Nice.
twist aside as your sword lands home.
Another. This is heavily in
With
my
one
favor.
eye still on the bag, the hobgoblin doesn't see you attack and screeches as you land a blow.
Nice. Once more. One more hit and he's dead.
Pretending to be tired, you bend over but grab a handful of dirt and throw it in the hobgoblin's face,
That's like, wait a
making
minute.
your
hold.
subsequent attack
Give me
very
time out.
effective. Cut and bruised from your victorious battle, you see that the hobgoblins have nothing of any use to you on them. So you decide to open the bag on the floor.
Hey, what are they fighting over?
Inside,
What's in
you
the bag?
find a corked earthenware jug. You uncork it and sniff the liquid inside. It smells sharp and acrid.
Drink some of the liquid. Sharp and acrid? I don't think so, buddy. Dip a piece of cloth in it. That sounds safe.
Acrid smoke rises from the jug as you lower the cloth into it. The liquid is unmistakably acid. You recork the jug
What
and
is
place
acid?
it in your backpack,
Nice.
hoping
Jug of
it may
acid.
be of use to you later.
Lord of Bristinger.
You sheathe your sword and press on,
Welcome, dude.
northwards. The tunnel soon takes another sharp right
We're
turn.
playing D&D. Well, DTD.
Following it east, you arrive at a strange obstruction. A row of 12 wooden poles across the tunnel. They are fixed to the walls at each end, about half a meter off the floor and spaced about a meter apart.
How would I walk across the poles? Let's go over in between.
You step slowly over and
I
between
want
the
to touch
poles,
them. I touched the bell earlier.
taking
that
care
almost
not to
hurt-
touch
That hurt me.
any of them. This will be a test of your skill, like
okay.
the luck test. We'll roll 2 dice, and if the number rolled is equal to or less than your current skill score,
Mine's
you
at 10.
have been skillful. But if the roll is higher than your skill score, then you aren't skillful
2 dice,
enough.
so if I roll 11 or 12, I lose. I like those odds. Easy.
You step slowly over and between the poles,
Nice.
taking care not to touch any of them. After resting for a while, you set off east again. The tunnel ends at a junction. The footprints you
roll.
have been following turn north, and you decide to stay with them. You soon come to another junction in the tunnel. One branch leads east, but the wet footprints you have been following continue north and you decide to follow their trail.
Sounds
The
good to me.
passage opens out into a wide cabin which is darker but much drier. Ahead, you see the footprints gradually fade, then disappear. There is a large idol in the center of the
Holy
cabin that
damn.
must be 6 meters high. In its head are jeweled eyes, each
Ooh.
as big as your fist.
Treasure.
On either side of the idol stand 2 giant stuffed, bird-like creatures.
Let's finish my Kamen Rider 000 and upload it to your Discord. I'll pick another kit. Oh, let me see this. Oh, that looks sick. I like the second the pose with his hand out. Mighty that comedy duo from Japan. They showed up in the Yakuza games. Those 2 guys that opened up that coffee shop. Climb the idol, take the jewels, walk through the cave to the tunnel on the opposite wall. Oh, I'm tempted to take those jewels. Yeah, let's do it.
The
I
idol
bet those
is
fuckers are
very
worth a lot of
smooth
money.
and will be difficult to climb. Some rope would have been ideal for this task, but alas, you don't have any.
I don't have any rope.
So slowly
I got acid,
and
though.
carefully, you begin to climb the idol. You're about to grab hold of its large ear when suddenly your foot slips.
Oh,
We'll need to check how lucky you are.
luck roll.
We'll roll 2 dice, and if the number rolled is equal to or less than your current luck score, you have been lucky. But if
My
the
luck's at
number
12,
rolled is
so-
higher than your current luck score,
So nice to match it whenever we do it. Yeah,
You
nice
have
to
been
match it holds out the hand. Boom!
you just managed to grab the idol's earlobe and regain your footing. You scramble over its face and sit down on the bridge of its nose. You draw your sword and consider which jeweled eye to prize out first.
Prize out? Maybe pry out? Is that like a British term? Alright. Always left.
As you touch the emerald eye of the idol, you hear a creaking sound below you. Looking down, you are shocked to see the 2 stuffed birds taking flight.
Uh-oh.
Their wings flap.
I think I
in
pissed off the
jerky
chickens.
movements, but they are soon above you and look set to attack.
Oh no.
You'll fight the flying guardians, one at a time. But your skill is reduced by 3
Holy
during
shit!
this combat. Because of your
7
restricted
skill?
Position.
That's terrible. Okay. Let's go for it. Attack. Or match skill too. Shit, this is literally
You lunge
tie.
at the creature as it flies above you, but your sword clangs into the statue. Neither of you are harmed.
Okay. One more, another round, 2 rounds. I should be okay, even if I lose this fight. Oh,
The
hell yeah.
Guardian snaps at you with its vicious beak, but you're able to smash the hilt of your sword into its outstretched neck.
Thank you, luck stat. Alright. Good attack. The final round. This dice is on mine. Come on, come on.
Coming at you with its razor-sharp talons, you're able to swipe your sword, partially removing one of the Guardian's toes.
Boom.
The crumpled form of the first flying guardian falls crashing to the floor. So you ready yourself to take on the second.
Here, I'm gonna... Here we go. Second Guardian. Attack. Oh, he's got a higher attack stat too by 1. So it's in his
Clawing
favor.
at your legs
Shit!
with its talons, the Guardian rips away a chunk of your stamina.
Let's attack him again. If he hits me again, I'm gonna eat.
You quickly eat some provisions,
never mind, I'm just gonna eat.
increasing your stamina by 4 points.
Nice. Okay. Now attack.
Guardian
Shit, man.
snaps
He is
at
beating
you
my
with
ass.
its Vicious beak. You
Okay, he
pounce,
only hits for 2.
but the tip of the creature's beak sinks deep into your arm.
Alright. Last round.
You're able to grab the wing
Nice.
of the Guardian and send it crashing into the idol. It recovers, but you took some of its stamina.
Your final swipe dispatches the second flying
Ah,
guardian.
I got my attack skill back.
You look down
skill,
and
rather.
see the crumpled bodies of the flying guardians lying motionless on the floor. You start to prize out the idol's emerald
Yes.
eye with the tip of your sword.
My well-earned treasure.
At last it comes free, and you are surprised by its weight. Hoping that it may be of use later, you put it in your backpack.
Oh, fuck yeah. Emerald. One emerald. Jewels. I have the jug of acid. What is this? Storage. Okay, this is weapons. Interesting. Okay, so I was just looking at the map. I'm doing all right. Let's get the other eye. No more guardians, right?
You try
Should
to
be safe.
force the point of your sword under the emerald eye. Much to your surprise, it shatters on contact, releasing a
fuck.
jet of poisonous gas
Damn
straight
it.
into your face.
Oh no!
The gas knocks you out and you fall backwards, bouncing down the idol to land on the stone floor.
Oh, that's 6 meters too.
Your adventure
I'm dead!
ends here.
No! Eddie! You son of a bitch, Eddie. Oh, motherfucker. Well, at least I could just start here.
There is a large idol in the
Okay.
center of the
Okay, so I can... Okay, let's do this again. I want that... Okay, so the left eye. Take the left
idol
eye.
is very
Yeah. Okay. We're fine.
You just managed to grab the idol's
Yeah, my luck stats
earlobe
max, so...
and regain your footing. You scramble over its face and sit down on
Luck
the
stats
bridge
are
of
the
its
fucking
nose.
useless best stat ever.
You draw
like no
your
middle.
sword and consider
banked on it
which
being good
jeweled
here.
eye to prize out.
It's paid off.
first.
Michael Jackson threw a laugh. Okay, the left eye. Take the left eye. We're gonna fight
As
the
you
birds, fight the chickens. Give me your son of a bitch. Hopefully I do okay in this fight.
The Guardian snaps at you with
Nice.
its vicious beak, but you're able to smash the hilt of your sword into its outstretched neck.
Okay. Next round.
The beating wing of the
Shit.
Guardian smashes into the side of your head, leaving you seeing stars and sapping your stamina.
Okay, I'm gonna eat one of my provisions. Try to upkeep
You quickly
HP.
eat some provisions, increasing your stamina by 4 points.
Okay. Next round? Or final round, even. What did I roll? Eddie!
Coming at you with its razor
Okay, I got
sharp
that.
talons, you're able to swipe your sword, partially removing one of the Guardian's toes.
Right.
The crumpled
Okay, first
form
chicken's dead. Excellent. Second one. This one's harder. Oh, I rolled really high, though.
You're able to grab the wing of the Guardian and send it crashing into the idol. It recovers, but you took some of its stamina.
Nice. Okay. Second round?
Clawing at
Fuck.
your leg with its talons,
I mean, that happened last
the
time,
Guardian
too.
rips away a chunk of your stamina.
My thigh. My thick and powerful thighs. Attack again. Third round. Final round.
Guardian snaps
Shit.
at you with its vicious beak.
Oh well.
You parry, but the tip
I
of
survived
the
the 3
creature's
rounds,
beak
so
sinks
that's the
deep
auto win.
into your arm.
I'm just hurt.
Your final swipe dispatches the second flying guardian.
Okay.
You look down and see the crumpled bodies of the flying.
Okay. We're gonna leave the eye, the right eye, climb down the idol.
You lower yourself carefully down the idol, and wasting no more time in the cavern, run forward to the tunnel in the northern wall. Not much farther
Okay.
down the tunnel,
That's
you
one
come to a
death.
closed door on your left. Putting your ear to the door, you listen intently but hear nothing.
Let me look at this. Okay, so there's a door right here. I'm gonna open the door. What is behind this door?
You
It
enter
could be
a
more treasure.
room which is small and completely empty. As soon as you are inside, the door slams shut
Nah,
behind you.
fuck.
Suddenly a voice booms out of nowhere, shouting, "Welcome to Deathtrap Dungeon,
Okay, Eddie.
the ingenious
You yell in my
killer
fucking ear.
labyrinth of my master. Adventurer, I trust you will pay your respects to my master by shouting out his name.
Succumbit? Succumbit is a worm. Hail Succumbit. Pissing off the master of this dungeon does not sound like a healthy idea, now does it? Hail Succumbit.
You take a deep breath and shout, Hail Succumbit! Once again, the mysterious voice calls out. Only this time its tone is full of contempt and derision.
Uh-oh. I should have...
So, we have a sniveling weed in our midst, do
Weed?
we? Sneers the voice.
I'm just fighting
My
with Sadie.
master has a special gift for you, loathsome creep. Suddenly, water starts pouring into the room
I'm
through
gonna
a
drown
hole
to death
in the
this
ceiling.
fucking dungeon.
It soon rises above your ankles, and there is no apparent way of escape. You wade back to the door. It is firmly locked, but in desperation you try ramming it with your shoulder. We'll see how skillful you really are. Remember,
Alright, Eddie.
a roll equal to or less than your skill score
Still in my favor.
means you have been
11 or
skillful.
12 is a failure.
But a roll higher than your skill could end badly.
Alright, Eddie. Nice. Okay.
The door cannot withstand the furious battering you are giving it. The center panel cracks and splinters,
Boom!
enabling you to kick a
All
hole in
strict.
it, large enough for you to squeeze through. Soaked, but happy to have survived your ordeal, you set off north again. The tunnel twists and turns, but keeps steadily north. Ahead,
Sorry.
you see a
The
thin
fuck is-
shaft of blue light streaming down from the ceiling to the floor.
What am I looking at?
It sparkles and shimmers, and you can see images of laughing faces in the light.
Why? Okay. Now, I'm not a wizard or anything like that, but why on earth would I walk through enchanted light? Let's walk around the light.
You come to an arched doorway set in the right-hand wall of the tunnel. The heavy stone door is closed, but there is an iron latch and a round handle.
Another door? Sure as shit, okay. Alright, let's open this door.
Lifting the latch and pushing the heavy stone door open, you find yourself in a large cavern. The light is dim and murky, but as your eyes begin to adjust, you see that the walls are covered in green algae and running
Algae?
with moisture.
The algae?
The floor is strewn with straw. The atmosphere is warm, damp, and fetid, and a soft humming sound fills the air.
Oh no, okay.
You step gingerly through
Ginger.
the straw towards a corner of the cabin where there appears to be a shallow pit.
You said a word wrong.
Peering warily into the pit,
He
you
was
are
very
disgusted
British.
to see a mass of pale,
Ew.
writhing worms, some as much as 1/2 meter long. Nauseated, you're about to turn away when you
fucking is
notice
instant.
that their undulating bodies are
Oh, that's a
swarming
dagger.
around
I thought that was a
dagger.
sword.
Its point held fast in a crack in the pit floor. The hilt is cased in black leather, studded with opals, and the blade is fashioned
Aw,
from a
This
strange
dagger is worth something. huh?
reddish-black burnished metal you have never seen before.
Wait, what is it? The
You
burrow
long to
blade.
touch the dagger, but this would mean plunging your hand in among the writhing worm.
Oh, I'm tempted. I go in disgust and leave the cavern. I want that dagger. Oh, it looks valuable. Reach for the dagger. I'll fight the
Taking a
worms.
deep breath, you lean over the pit and plunge your forearm into the mass of wriggling worms.
Ew.
They are cold and clammy and feel extremely nasty, but at least they are harmless, and you are able to seize the dagger by the hilt. You give it a hard tug and it comes away from the crack in which the tip was embedded. admiring its beauty and wondering whether it might once have belonged to some luckless contestant. You put the opal-studded dagger firmly in your belt and leave.
Remember, it's always
as you
very
make your way
important to
back
never be
to
without
the
one.
doorway, the buzzing
I might
sound
lose my sword,
increases in
but I got
intensity,
something else.
and you look around desperately to discover where it's coming
Oh
from.
no, I pissed some off, didn't I?
Glancing up in the nick of time, you see a huge and grotesque black shape of a giant fly emerging from a recess high up
no.
in the cavern wall. As it gets closer, you realize that it's at least 1.5 meters long.
It's a big
Its
ass fly.
opaque wings vibrate, making the sickening buzzing noise you can hear. And its 6 black, hairy legs are poised to grasp your body. Below, its multifaceted eyes is a long, shiny black proboscis, which darts
Okay, you said
in
that
and
right.
out venomously. You have stolen the giant fly's treasure from her brood of maggots.
Goddamn right I did.
And you
It's
must
my
face
dagger
the
now.
consequences. It's time to test your luck.
Oh, it's a
again.
luck roll. My luck's still maxed
Remember.
out, so
A roll equal to or less than your luck score means you've been
okay, I
lucky.
can't lose this then, right?
But a roll higher than your luck could end badly.
2, yeah, I can't lose this.
The giant fly swoops down again to try to capture you. This
Sucker.
time you manage to evade its outstretched legs. Stepping back, you draw your sword to prepare to fight the hideous insect as it turns to attack you again.
Combat? Alright. Give me a fly. It's still in my favor. Everything's still in my favor.
The creature flies at you so close you
it was
can't use
close.
your weapons. Grabbing it by its legs, you swing around, slamming it into a wall.
That's right. Escape? Hell, I'm kicking this thing's ass. I'm not escaping. More. Let's fight more.
You
Max
spin your
roll!
sword around your head, clipping the fly and removing part of one of its legs.
Nice. Again, the final round.
You hurl yourself at your enemy, fist flailing, and land a stunning blow.
Pleased with your victory, you wipe the vile yellow slime from the blade of your sword and walk quickly to the door.
Yeah, let's get the
back
hell out
to
of
the
here.
tunnel and head.
Nasty, nasty flies. But I have its treasure.
The tunnel ends shortly at a junction. Looking left and right, you see a narrow passage disappearing into the dim distance.
Let me see the map. There's actually quite a bit to see in this dungeon. If I reach the end, I'm not gonna go back to do it, but well, always going left hasn't failed me yet. Oh, Mr. Eddie, we're going left or west. We're going west.
Ahead, you hear the sound of rocks being ground and crushed. The noise grows louder, and suddenly you realize that the wall on your right is starting to collapse.
Oh,
Terrified, you watch as a large, hideous, worm-like creature
oh my
with a
goodness!
gaping mouth and powerful mandibles slithers through a hole in the wall.
It's an Alaskan
Its
bullworm.
great jaws continue to crunch the rock as it turns its head slowly from side to side, feeling the cool air in the tunnel. It appears to be totally blind, but seems to know of your presence, perhaps sensing the heat of your body. It starts to slither towards you with its mandibles wide apart to attack.
Oh, we're already fighting another one? Alright. Wait. You just flee? Rock grub. No, let's fight. I want to fight this shit.
You draw your sword and advance slowly towards the huge, slimy rock grub.
Okay, he's still got 7, so let's fight. 7 attack. Oh.
The rock grub
Okay.
is strong, but slow.
Nice, nice.
You swing your sword, which smashes into its pulsating body.
Yeah. Another attack. Human male fighter, by the way. The strongest class. The coolest class.
You thrust your sword.
Boom!
You clearly damage the creature.
Nice. Last attack.
Picking up a rock, you manage to smash it into the
Just
head of the rock
barely.
grub.
Nice.
It screeches in pain.
I used the
drawing
rock
enough
to
for
kill the
you
rock grub.
To ready for another attack.
Pleased
I use the
with
stones
your
to destroy
combat
the stones.
skills, you step round the great bulk of the dead rock grub and peer into the darkness of the borehole it left.
I've enjoyed this a lot.
You can
A lot
only
more than I
see a
thought I
few
would.
meters, but are able to make out that it inclines slightly and is wet from the secreted slime of the rock grub.
Ew. Okay, let me look at the map. So on one hand, in my mind, where there's one worm in a hole, there's going to be more worms in the hole. At the same time, maybe that rock grub is hiding something. Let's explore his borehole.
Tapping the side of the borehole with your sword, you tread your way blindly through the sticky slime. You follow its twisting and turning course for what seems an age, and begin to wonder where it might lead. Suddenly, you hear a slithering sound up ahead. You freeze with
Oh
fear,
shit. I guess I
your
first,
eyes desperately trying to pierce the pitch
first
black
instinct
darkness.
is right.
Before you realize what is happening, you are gripped round the neck by the powerful mandibles of another rock grub.
Oh no.
It is the mate of the rock grub
The
you
mate?
killed, and has been attracted by the smell of blood on your sword. It squeezes harder
Oh no.
until your neck snaps like a small twig. Your adventure ends here.
Got in by a rock grub. She snapped my neck because I killed her husband. Oops. Well, let's not play in any more rock grubs' boreholes, shall we? We'll leave their boreholes alone.
Ahead,
Okay, we killed him before, we can kill him again.
you draw your sword.
It's all in my favor. Attack.
The rock grub is strong, but slow. You
Again.
thrust
Another
your
death.
sword, and you
X
clearly
snapped by rock
damage the
grub.
creature. Picking up
Sorry,
a rock,
rock grub.
you manage to
Lose
smash
again.
it into the head of the rock grub. It screeches in pain, withdrawing.
Okay. We're not gonna go into the
Pleased
borehole.
with your combat
We'll
skills,
stay away from its house.
you step round the great bulk of the dead rock grub and peer into the darkness.
No, we're gonna keep going in the dungeon.
After a long walk down the tunnel, you come to a dead end. A large mirror reaching from the ceiling to the floor hangs on the end wall,
The mirror.
and in the dim light, you can just about make out your own reflection.
Everything in me. My swordman senses are tingling and says, don't look in the mirror. However, let's have a moment of vanity and check ourselves out. Let's check me out.
You step up to the mirror and are amused by your distorted reflection. Your head looks as large as a pumpkin, and your face is exceedingly strange.
Eddie?
Suddenly, without warning,
Eddie?
a terrible pain pounds through your head, and you try to look away from the mirror, but you are unable to. Some evil force is keeping your eyes glued to your own reflection. You grip your head with your hands and realize, with horror, that it is expanding. You can withstand it no
It's
longer,
big brain time, huh?
and blacking out with pain, you fall unconscious to
I'm gonna
the
get a
floor,
big head.
never to wake. Your adventure.
I fucking, my head got too big. I fucking died. Oh my god. I'm gonna get a big head. Redeem. So I start talking shit, my head will get bigger.
Ahead,
Oh man, I went all the way back to the rock grub. Okay, I'm gonna kill this.
you draw your
Let's kill this rock grub.
The rock grub is strong.
No, he's not.
You thrust your
A
sword.
max roll. Of course, of course. Can I do any less?
Picking up a rock, you manage to
dead.
smash.
Pleased with your combat skills, you
Black
step
out from
round the
having an
great
enlarged
bulk of the
head.
dead rock grub and peer into the darkness of...
Okay, we'll continue. We're not gonna look at the mirror, because that gets you killed.
Passing
Okay,
the
so
rock
that's a
grub's
dead
borehole
end.
on your left, you soon arrive at the junction. You take a quick look down the tunnel leading south, but do not see anybody approaching.
That's where I came from, so...
Quickening your step, you hurry on, east. You walk down the passage and soon find yourself standing at the edge of a deep, dark pit. The passage continues east on the other side of the pit. You think you could probably jump over the pit, but you're not sure. There is a rope hanging down from the ceiling over the center of the pit.
Indiana Jones? Throw your shield over the pit and jump after it. Jump over the pit carrying all your possessions. Reach for the rope with your sword to enable you to swing across the pit. I don't like how any of these are worded. It's also pretty... Something fucky is about to happen. Alright. Let's try and get the sword. Or sorry, try and get the rope with the sword. I still have a dagger.
Gripping the rope firmly, you step back to take a running jump. However,
Oh,
in
fuck.
the dim light, you
Here
do
we
not
go.
notice that someone has cut the rope
Eddie!
almost in two, just a little way above the section you are holding. As you swing out across the pit, it suddenly breaks, and you scream with fear as you plunge headlong to the depths below. You land heavily on your back.
I live?
Luckily, your backpack cushions your fall, only costing you 1 skill point and 2 stamina points.
2 stamina.
been much
Okay.
worse.
The stamina's not bad, it's a
The
skill.
darkness is almost pitch black at the bottom of the pit, and you crawl along the floor, groping in front of you. Suddenly your hand touches something cold, hard, and smooth. The object is small and round, but you cannot figure out
Is
what
it a ring?
is.
Have I landed in Gollum's
You
lair?
place it in your backpack, hoping to see what it is once you are out of the pit. You continue to
screaming.
crawl forward and soon reach the pit wall. It's too smooth to climb, and you have to cut hand and toe holds in it with your sword. This takes a long time, but finally you
This
climb out of
sword
the pit.
is carrying my
on the
ass.
east
This is
side.
why I'm a
You
swordman.
immediately check out the object in your backpack and discover that you have found an orb of blood red ruby. You are absolutely
Ooh.
delighted and head off east in high spirits, whistling softly.
Okay.
The tunnel makes a sudden left turn and continues north as far as you can see.
Can I look at this while he's talking?
You soon arrive at
I
a
can't.
closed wooden door in the left hand
Blood red
wall.
ruby. Another door? Okay, so open a door. Always open the doors.
The door opens into a large candlelit room filled with incredibly lifelike statues of knights and warriors. A white-haired old man dressed in tattered rags
Oh,
jumps
no.
out from behind one of the statues and starts to giggle. Though he looks like a fool, the sparkle in his eyes makes you think there is more to him. In a high-pitched voice, he says, "Oh, good! Another stone for my garden. I'm glad you have come to join your friends. Now, I'm a fair man, so I'll ask you a question. If you answer correctly, I'll let you go free. But if your answer is wrong, I'll turn you to stone." He starts to chuckle again, obviously pleased.
So you're gonna
with
ask me
your
the airspeed velocity of an unclean swallow? Wait for his question. Attack him with your sword. Make a run for the door. Sarah Connors in Stranger Things season 5. Her name is Linda Hamilton. The great Linda Hamilton. Wait for his question. Attack him with your sword. Okay, so if he's serious and he actually turned these other dudes into statues, I'm not gonna fucking swing my sword at him. Although I should. I want to hear what he has to ask.
The old man points at one of the statues, and you recognize it immediately. It is the knight who started the trial of champions. The agonized look on his face locked in stone for eternity. The old man smiles, saying,
This man weighs 100 pounds plus half his weight. How much does he weigh?
What will you answer?
100 pounds plus half his weight. Back as a lich, was a phylactery. That's what I'm right into. Oh, I don't care, dude. I don't really watch too many shows. Let alone Stranger Things. I thought he's just some random old guy who's somehow gotten here. He's just some dude that's in here. Okay, 100 pounds plus half his weight. Is this a trick question? Is this old man gonna count his equipment as weight? And he actually weighs 200 pounds because he's 100 pounds with another, or is it 150? Plus half his weight. 150.
Still smiling, the old man looks at you and says quietly, wrong. And before you can do anything else, he mumbles a few strange words into the air. You feel your muscles
okay, he is a
harden and your
fucking
skin
wizard.
go taut.
God, I fucking hate
You
wizards.
start to panic.
No offense to
But
any
there is
wizards.
nothing you can do to stop the petrification of your body. Your adventure ends here.
And I turn to stone. When you are gone. And I turn to stone.
The tunnel makes a sudden left
No, I
turn.
want to beat this guy at his riddle. Open the door. Open the door.
The door opens into a large candlelit room filled with incredibly lifelike statues
Shitty
of
wizard.
knights and warriors.
Okay. No, I want to beat his riddle.
The old man points at
He weighs 100 and half his weight. Is it the trick question? Is he only weighs 100 pounds? The half his weight is the red herring, right? That's the thing that throws you off. 100 pounds.
Still smiling, the old man looks at you and says quietly, wrong.
Oh my.
And before you can do anything else, he mumbles a few
I can't
strange
skip
words
deaths.
into the air. You feel your
Not
muscles
again.
harden and your skin
Not
go
again.
taut. You start to panic, but there is nothing you can do to stop the petrification of your body. Your adventure ends here.
Again.
The tunnel makes a sudden left turn and continues north as far as you can see. You soon arrive at
Open the door. Okay, first question.
Yep.
Yes, Sarksy. This is the remaining answer. So after some trial and error and some it's not safe scumming if I die, right? It's more like death scumming. Just ask Doom, he's into that shit. 200 pounds.
still smiling. The old man looks at you and says,
Well done, stranger. You have answered
We're gonna
correctly.
talk shit about words can't do quick
I
math.
wish you
Listen,
good
listen.
fortune
I've said this before. Intelligence,
during the
wisdom,
rest of the
none of that
trial.
matters to
Yeah.
me. Charisma. The only thing that
To
matters
this end,
is you pump strength
I
as high as you
increase
can.
your powers.
Maybe some luck.
he then mutters a few more unintelligible words, and you feel a powerful surge soar through your body, increasing your skill, stamina, and luck.
Dude! Yes!
You bid the old man farewell
Fear
and leave
Nice.
the continue north along the passage.
Why didn't you swing the sword? Because I was
Only
afraid
a
he was a
few
wizard,
meters
man.
further
Wizards
down
are
the
just full of
passage,
bullshit. That's
You
kind of their
see
thing.
another closed door in the left-hand wall. The letter X is scratched into its center panel. Putting your ear to the door, you listen intently, but can hear nothing.
Another door. There's so many doors in this hallway. Why do you truly keep adventures out of my dungeons? Fill my dungeon with riddles, right? Just fill it with fucking riddles. And then change the answer at the last minute so that they're always wrong. They got adamantium, they can't break him down. Another Nor. Let's open the Nor.
The door opens into a large room. Looking around, you see an alcove in the west wall. In the middle of the room, sitting in the chair, is the skeleton of an armed warrior,
Another one?
possibly a contestant from years gone by.
Oh, I see.
The skeletal fingers of its right hand
Doom Guide. Who is this guy? You recognize him?
crumpled parchment.
parchment. Either this parchment killed him, or it didn't. So I'm going to take the parchment, because for all I know, this parchment is going to help me. Cousin Eddie? You mean there's more than one Eddie? Eddie.
Touching the
Shitter was full.
parchment has precisely the effect you had feared. The skeleton lurches forward,
Oh shit.
and rising from its chair in a series of jerky movements, raises its sword to strike you.
It's a fight?
Lunging sideways, you draw your sword to defend yourself.
Oh, it's a fight. Alright, Skelly. My skill is stronger, so it's in my favor.
The skeleton is strong, but slow. You swing your
Doom guy, I'm
sword,
farming
which
your
smashes
minions.
into its leg.
Again.
You dodge to the side as the warrior swings its sword.
Boom.
You kick out, knocking its legs out from under it.
Oh, hell yeah. You final round. Well, I should technically heal, so I'm going to eat provisions first.
You quickly eat some provisions, increasing your stamina by 4 points.
Nice. Back to 21. Alright, now we attack. Damn, he
You
rolled
jump
high!
back as the skeleton swings its sword,
I take it back.
not quickly
I
enough,
apologize,
and
skeleton.
it tears into your shoulder,
I was not familiar with your
sapping
game.
your stamina.
Once again, you reach for the parchment. Only this time lying amidst a pile of
Guess I
broken
killed him.
bones.
Damn.
Unfolding it, you see a map of a room with a drawing of a hideous creature inside it. Beneath the monster is a rhyme, which reads, "Should you meet the manticore,
There's a manicord
of
here.
its tail beware. Shield yourself against the spikes flying through the air." You fold up the piece of parchment and put it in your backpack,
Beware its tail.
repeating the rhyme over and over to yourself. You walk across to the alcove. At the back of the alcove are some steps leading down into a cellar. Cobwebs brush your face as you descend. The cellar ceiling is quite low, and
Sorry, I need to check this map. I'm not in the tunnel, or sorry, tunnel, the hallway anymore. I'm actually like going off in another direction. Strike 9 quiet, 1 charisma, 1 wisdom. Strongest build, right? Exactly. Although in D&D, some wisdom usually helps fighters. Sometimes they get benefits from having a better wisdom. This game is a critical. I have no idea what exists. I think I got it in a humble bundle. I think should be in a humble bundle.
the floor is strewn with debris. In the middle of the wall opposite you is an archway, which leads into another crystal-lit tunnel. There are large mushrooms growing on the debris to your right.
Yeah, check January of this year. I think it was a January bundle that I saw it in. Cause I do that shit where like, I just let my humble bundle keep going and then I like forget about it for a few months and then I'll check it. And if I don't see anything that catches my eye, I'll just leave it and then come back to it like months later to go through and grab everything. Everything I don't already own. Eat some of the mushrooms? Okay. I might have low id, but I'm not that stupid. It's up to the archway.
The tunnel continues west for several hundred meters, finally ending at some steps leading up to a closed trapdoor. You climb the steps slowly, hearing muffled voices above you. In the dim light, you can see that the trapdoor is not locked.
Knock. Hello? Anybody in there? Check out once see what games I can hand out to people. That's the problem, is handing it out to people. Is it's like, you want this game? No. But this game is worth like $60, man. Just take it, please. The key will expire, and then, like, I already have the game, so. Like, just take it, please. You're doing me the favor by taking it, because I hate to see it just expire. Burst through the chat door with your sword drawn.
You throw the trapdoor open and run up the steps into a bright, lantern-lit room. Two goblins are sharpening their short swords on a stone set in the middle of the floor. You catch them momentarily off guard, but they quickly recover and both rush forward to attack.
It's gonna expire, I already have it, yeah.
Point of note.
And they're trying to be polite, like, oh no, I don't want it, no, I don't need it. It's like, just take it. Seriously, just take it. I don't lose anything, just take
will
it.
have a separate attack on you each attack round. However,
What?
here your attack will only be effective on one of the goblins. Against the other, you must still use your attack strength in a normal way. But even if your attack would have been effective, you will not wound it. It will just count this as though you have defended yourself.
Okay, is there still 3 rounds?
However, if it's
Because if I survive 3 rounds, I win
greater,
automatically.
it will have wounded you in the normal.
Okay, so they get 2 attacks on me per round. That's excellent. Alright. Kill! Holy shit.
You try to run around the side of the creature.
That goblin
but
rolled
it
really
grabs your
high!
arm, throwing you hard into the
11?
wall.
Okay, let's try this again.
You
Nice.
lunge at the creature's stomach with your sword drawn, but the creature whips around, parrying your blow. Neither of you are harmed.
What a load of bunk.
Your enemy is strong, but slow, and screams in pain as your sword sinks into his leg.
Nice. That's 1 goblin. Next one.
You both swing for
Okay,
each other,
nice.
and in the confusion, both miss.
Alright, back to the first. Give me a goblin. I watched Goblin Slayer. I know how to. Holy
You
shit.
hurl yourself at your enemy, fists flailing,
It was
and
close.
land a stunning blow.
So I'm as slow as what I imagine goblins. Yeah. Maybe they're higher level goblins.
You thrust
Or maybe
your
he's
sword,
got like just a big club.
and you clearly damage the creature.
Nice. Okay, defense against the second goblin. Or sorry. Oh, is this attack against the first one?
You lunge at the creature's stomach with your sword drawn, but the creature whips around, parrying your blow.
That's the 3rd round, right? I should win.
Neither of you are harmed.
I should be able to be okay if I survive. I mean, I'm gonna survive this, but I would like to not take any damage. Crypto Crow, what's up?
Your enemy
What's up,
is
Crypto
strong,
Crow?
but slow,
You're just in time to
and
see me kick
screams
the
in
ass
pain
of
as
these
your
goblins.
sword sinks into his leg.
Triumphant in one of your toughest battles to date, you see that the only furniture in the goblin's room is a table, 2 chairs, and a cupboard on the wall. There are 2 closed
Was this their
doors,
break room?
one in the west wall and the other in the north wall.
Wait, let me visualize this on the map. The 2 doorways in the cupboard. What's in the cupboard? What are these goblins? What do they have to drink? In their break
The
room.
cupboard contains a wooden mallet and 10 iron spikes,
Oh.
which you put in your backpack while wondering which door to open.
Maybe for climbing later, right? Okay, so we can go north or west, but my rule is always left. It's not failed me yet. West door.
The door opens into another tunnel. Walking west, you soon
Also,
arrive
Cryptic
at
Crow, I
another
love the
door
little-
in the north wall.
The sombrero. I want to open the door. Yeah, open the door.
The door opens into a small room in which there is a human skull
Oh,
with
gems!
jeweled eyes resting on the top of a marble plinth.
Plinth?
A row of loaded crossbows is fixed to the left-hand wall, and 2 small wooden balls lie on the floor just inside the door.
Just take the gems. Don't even. That's what I did with the last statue. I just went after those gems, dude. I had to fight 2 chickens, 2 flying chicken monsters. You see PNG? Your PNG is fucking awesome. No puzzles, only gold. Uncle Tim said Uncle Tim is guarding some treasure, hey? Walk into the room and pick up the skull. Throw a wooden ball at the skull from the doorway. Close the door to you while taking the wooden balls with you. Oh! I just throw the ball at the skull? It's like those fucking like those games at like the at like a fair or a carnival. Alright, let's play the game.
You take aim and hurl the wooden ball at the skull. A test of skill.
Alright, Eddie.
The wooden ball smashes into the skull, knocking it off the plinth and onto the floor. Much to your surprise,
Nice.
the crossbows do not release their deadly bolts. You step into the room cautiously and pick the skull up off the floor.
Alas, poor
You
York.
recognize the yellow jeweled
I knew him
eyes
well.
as topaz.
Alas, Uncle
and
Tim.
eagerly pluck them from their sockets. You put them in your backpack,
Dude,
wondering
topazes.
whether or not
Fuck yeah.
a trap still awaits you in the room.
Yeah, those crossbows are sus, man. I got a plague mask when I get ready for battle. Oh, nice. Dude, plague doctor masks are fucking... They're so cool. They look so cool. Yeah, went for... I had one a while... It wasn't a real one. It was like one made out of like fucking... like foam or some shit. I crafted it. For like a Halloween party. Get down on all fours. Crawl out of the room holding the skull. Replace the skull in the plate. I'm thinking of Indiana Jones, where like he like swaps the fucking, you know, and then I don't really want the skull. I just want the gems.
There is an unseen pressure plate on top of the plinth. And as soon as the skull is put back on it, the device is sprung. Immediately, the crossbows release a shower of bolts across the room.
No, 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 no.
Time to test your luck.
Okay.
Remember,
We're still in it.
A roll
I can't
equal
lose.
to
I have max
or
luck.
less than your luck score is lucky. But a higher roll could cost you.
Bring it, Eddie. It's all in my favor.
The crossbow bolts fly over your head and thud into the opposite wall. Fortunately, you are still crouching on the floor. Now that the trap has been sprung, you can leave the room by the door through which you entered.
Nice.
Back
More
in the
gems.
tunnel,
More treasure.
you head on west. The tunnel takes a sharp turn and you find yourself in a sort of gallery lined with mirrors for some 20 meters. A human skeleton
More
appears
mirrors.
to be pulled halfway through the mirror along the right-hand wall. Suddenly, a grotesque being with
What
4
the
arms
fuck is
and 4
that?
screaming faces emerges from the mirror, barring your way ahead. It walks slowly towards
Oh my
you,
god.
each arm outstretched to grab you. It is a mirror demon from another
Mirror
dimensional
demon.
plane, come to take your spirit.
That looks cool as fuck. I'd want that as like a fucking tattoo, right? Gotta smash the mirrors. Hack the mirror with your sword. Maybe smash the mirrors? It's a mirror demon, so smash up its fucking mirrors. Its collection of mirrors.
You swing your sword against the mirror with all your might, but to no effect.
Shit.
The mirror does not break, and the mirror demon keeps advancing.
Can I just keep smashing the mirror? Smash the mirror. Smash.
The mirror demon is almost on top of you when, summoning all your strength, you strike one final blow against the mirror with your sword. A clear test of your skill.
Okay. Alright, so we're still in this.
The mirror shatters,
Nice.
sending fragments of glass
Just
flying
barely.
everywhere. The mirror demon's 4 faces cry out in agony, and cracks appear all over them. They too shatter and fall to the floor in shards of broken glass. I'm sorry to say you cut your sword arm badly while smashing the mirror.
What?
Although your strength is unaffected,
Eddie? Okay.
your weapon skill is diminished,
No.
losing you
2?
skill points. However, undeterred by your experience, you continue your journey north. In front of you are 2 flights of
I'm at
stone
8.
steps
Shit, man.
separated by a banister of rat skulls.
Rat skulls. Oh god, okay. Crusty Old Man game based on this book as well. Deathtrap, 97 cents American on Steam. Nice and cheap. Always left. Wait. Yeah, always left.
Treading carefully, you slowly make your way up the steps. You soon reach the top without mishap.
I should have took the
And
fucking
continue
skill
along the
potion.
new tunnel, which takes the sharp turn right. After 100 meters in the tunnel, you come to a junction. Looking left, you see the dead bodies of 2 orc guards. At least one of your rivals in the Trial of Champions must still be ahead of you. A quick search of the bodies produces nothing apart from a necklace of teeth hanging around the neck of one of the orcs.
That's of teeth, huh? That's a glorious mixture of use. Excellent. That's how you know. That's what we're checking out. So this orc has teeth. He has a necklace of teeth. I want his teeth. Teeth is spelled with an F. Wear the necklace.
The necklace is an amulet of strength,
Yo.
which adds 1
Hell
skill
yeah.
point and 1 stamina.
And
point.
1 stamina? Fuck yeah.
Pleased with your find, you continue your quest.
Okay, so I got one of my skill points back.
The
Excellent.
tunnel soon ends at a junction.
The boy's necklace.
Standing there alone and wondering
Start
which
the
way
walk.
to go is one of your rivals. It is one of the barbarians.
Oh, the barbarian. It's
You
Conan.
call out to him, but at first he does not answer. He merely stares at you coldly, his hands firmly
Oh, I
gripping
know that
his
look.
axe.
He's ready to fucking.
You walk up to him and ask which way he is heading. He grunts his reply, saying that he is going west, and you may go with him if you wish.
So this guy definitely wants to fight, right? Conan definitely wants to crush his enemies and see me driven before him and hear the lamentation of whatever women are stuck down in this dungeon. Yeah, I'm about to smash everything. Yeah, I'm gonna party with the barbarian. Always left.
Although you are slightly uneasy in each other's company, knowing that there can only be one winner in the Trial of Champions, you are both content to share in the benefits of a temporary alliance. And you begin to tell each other of your exploits so far, of the monsters and traps encountered and the dangers overcome. Walking along, you soon come to the edge of a wide pit. It is too deep and dark to see to the bottom. The barbarian suggests he lowers you to the bottom with his rope, saying he has a torch which he can light for you to use.
I might be an idiot, but this barbarian is also definitely an idiot. And of us 2 idiots, I don't think I should go down in that pit. So why don't you go down there?
The barbarian, who tells you he is called Throm, ties the rope around his waist, giving you the free end. As he lights the torch, you see a look of distrust in his eyes.
Yeah.
Slowly, he climbs over the edge of the pit while you brace yourself and take the strain of the rope. As you lower him little by little, you see the smooth sides of the pit illuminated by Throm's torch. He finally reaches the bottom and calls up to you, saying that there is another tunnel running north. He tells you to secure the rope around a rock protruding from the edge of the pit and lower yourself to the bottom.
No, I'm gonna stay. I'll go down with him. Stay with the barbarian. Head north down the lower tunnel.
After tying the rope
Now I
around
know
the
he
rock,
can't cut the rope on me.
you lower yourself slowly to the bottom of the pit. Throm retrieves his rope by shaking it off the rock, and you set off together down the new tunnel. On a stone ledge in the tunnel wall, you see 2 dusty leather-bound books. Throm grunts his contempt for the written word, urging you to leave the books and hurry on.
Me no read. Me not read. Red leather, black leather. Continue. I want to read one of these books. Let's open the red leather. That sounds nice.
As you open the book, it immediately begins to disintegrate, the pages turning to dust in your hands. You manage to keep a few fragments and read the handwritten script. The book appears to be about monsters, and from what you can make out, it contains a full description of a monster called the Blood Beast.
Blood Beast.
It is a horrific, bloated creature with tough, spiny skin and facial blisters which burst open to become mock eyes, evolved to hide the Blood Beast's only weak spot, the real eyes. Blood beasts usually dwell in pools of fetid slime which give off a poisonous gas so strong that it alone can easily knock people unconscious.
Damn.
The blood beast, although too bulbous to haul itself out of its slime pool, has a long and vicious tongue which it wraps around its victims before it drags them into its pool. As the helpless and still living victim's flesh decomposes in the vile slime, the blood beast will feed on it. You tell Throm about the grotesque blood beast. He merely shrugs his shoulders and tells you
It's like, so?
to get going.
Like I give a fuck. Okay, but what's in the black book? Come on, Throm. Let's do a little reading. It's good for your
The
brain.
book pages are sealed together,
Ew.
but a small hole has been cut out in the middle of them, just large enough to hold a small corked bottle containing a clear liquid.
Bottle?
You show it to Throm, who holds up his hand, indicating that he does not want you to come anywhere near him with it. His distrust of things unknown is strongly
Yes, the
evident.
simple barbarian. Drink the liquid? Why would I drink the liquid? Put the liquid in your wounds. No, actually, no, because I fucked up. What did I fuck up earlier? Well, it's a clear liquid. It's not like vile or anything, right? So I'm gonna drink it. Bottoms
The
up.
liquid is a magical potion that will enable you to detect
Yo!
hidden traps and adds 2.
My luck is already max, so it's useless. But detect hidden object. Detect hidden object, dude. That's an endgame fucking passive right there.
Setting off, you continue your
Whatever time
journey
I'm
north
taking floor pills.
with Throm. The tunnel turns sharply to the right, continuing east for as far as you can see. Throm stops and tells you to halt as well. He turns his head slowly from side to side, listening. I hear footsteps coming down the tunnel towards us, he whispers. Draw your sword. You both crouch down to hide in the shadows. And not a minute too
Wrong with his
soon.
perception check.
For a moment later, you see the silhouette of 2 armed guards. Throm jumps up and dashes forward, screaming a loud battle cry. They are 2 cave trolls.
Cave trolls! They
Throm
have a
attacks
cave
the
troll.
first one with his battle axe, and you run to his aid to attack the second.
Alright, me and Throm going at it with these cave trolls. Kill! He's got 10 fucking. Oh,
The troll
shit.
takes a swing at your head. Thankfully, you
It's
duck
close.
just in time.
Hit him really hard. Totally gonna try. I'm a little weak from fucking up earlier. Again.
The troll
Motherfucker,
swings low,
dude.
crashing into your ankles, knocking you off balance.
Let's eat some food.
You quickly eat some provisions, increasing your
Down to
stamina
7.
by 4 points.
This is fine. We have tons of food. Attack. Final round. Come on.
You hurl yourself at your enemy, fists flaming,
Okay.
and land a stunning blow.
You look to the left and see Throm standing over the cave troll he has slain. Blood is pouring out from a deep cut in his shoulder, but it does not seem to worry him.
It's because he's a fucking.
You search the bodies of the cave trolls,
barbarian.
but find nothing, apart from a bone ring on a leather cord hanging round the neck of one of them. The ring is engraved with a symbol which Throm recognizes. He explains that it must belong to druids of the north, and that an ancient talisman such as this will increase your powers if your body is able to accept it.
Powers! That's all I heard him say. I'm putting this ring on.
As soon as you put the ring on your finger,
Bone ring.
your whole body starts to shake. We'll see how skillful you really are.
Oh boy. Okay.
Remember,
Come on.
a roll equal to or less than
Light or
your
less.
skill score.
It's still in my favorites.
means you've
It's
been
still my favorite.
skillful.
It's got a good skew towards
But a
me
roll higher than
succeeding.
your skill could end badly.
No!
Your body vibrates wildly, and you are unable to stop yourself passing out. As you collapse, you lose 3 stamina points.
Oh my. Okay, that's not bad. That's not terrible. It's not the end of the world.
You
It's
wake.
It's not bad.
To find Throm pulling the ring off your finger.
Yeah, he's gonna take the fucking
He
ring.
puts it on the floor and crushes it with the head of his battle axe. Then, grunting to show his disapproval of you, he strides off
Okay,
east.
Throm.
You
Fucking.
stand up slowly
You put on the
and
ring.
stagger
Like
off
broken. You can't.
after him. The tunnel leads into
Give
a
me one of
damp
those looks,
cavern
huh? Give me the
with
stink
a high
eye.
ceiling and rock-strewn floor. Long and wet, teeth-like stalactites hang down threateningly. Their constant dripping creates smoky pools on the floor. The tunnel carries on through an archway carved in the shape of a demonic mouse.
We are deep in this shit. We are really far in this dungeon. Okay. Alright. Let's investigate the chamber first.
You walk around the cavern, but find nothing of interest. Throm calls out behind you, saying that he has found a leather pouch under a pile of rocks. Opening the pouch, he laughs out loud
The LOLs.
as a tiny mouse runs through his fingers and scurries off into the crevice behind 2 boulders. Suddenly, you hear the sound of cracking rock above you
Oh shit.
and look up to see stalactites breaking off from the roof. Throm's booming laugh, which still echoes through the chamber, has made the stalactites vibrate. and
Damn it,
break off.
Throm.
You yell at Throm
Just gonna keep
to
your
run
stupid
through
mouth
the
shut, could
archway
you?
as the stalactites start to crash to the floor. This will be a test of your...
Okay, I'll be fine. It's Throm I'm worried about. Yeah, I'm
Despite
fine.
the stalactites crashing all around you, you manage to dash through the archway without injury. You look around and see Throm thundering towards you, one arm held over his head for protection. He dashes into the tunnel and leans against the cold wall, panting heavily, apologizing for starting the rockfall,
Hey, you better be fucking
and
sorry,
offers
Throm.
you his hand to shake. You tell Throm that maybe he should use sign language in future, even for laughing.
Sign language.
You both smile and head east once more.
It's just it's LOL, LMAO even.
The tunnel ends at a large oak door. Throm wastes no time in testing the handle and is somewhat surprised to find the door unlocked. He pushes it open and walks into a torch-lit chamber. Sitting alone on an ornate chair is a dwarf who bids you enter.
Oh,
As you do so, the
Finally!
oak door swings shut
a
behind
dwarf.
you. Adventurers, you have done well to get this far, says the dwarf in a deep voice. However, as you both know, there can only be one winner in the Trial of Champions. As Trial Master,
Trial Master.
it is my duty to Baron
Is it?
circumvent,
It's a fight.
to let only the most able continue.
1v1, Mortal Kombat.
Therefore, I must devise a test of wits and strength to eliminate one of you.
Oh, okay, a test.
Please
Not a
do
fight?
not attempt to dispose of me. It will be utterly pointless, for, as you can see, there is no obvious way out of this chamber, and only I know where the hidden exit lies. Know if you would care to decide between you who will go first. I shall make the necessary preparations. You look at Throm, suddenly angry that your effective partnership might come to an end. He leans over and whispers in your ear that you should try to kill the dwarf and worry about the exit later.
So if there's a test of luck that has a luck roll, I've won. Straight up, I can't lose any luck tests. It looks like the strength one is what I'm worried about, because he's a barbarian. He's big and strong. If you killed a dwarf, I will never forgive you. I kind of think Throm is talking some bullshit here, because he's afraid that he's gonna do something dumb, because he's big and dumb and a barbarian, so he's even doubly so dumb. I'm dumb, but I'm not that dumb. So we'll help the dwarf, or we'll do the dwarf's test. It's a big ass dungeon. All right.
You tell Throm that there is no point in killing the dwarf.
Come on, Throm.
As you will never find your way out of the chamber alone. You argue that an opportunity of tricking the dwarf might arise later, once you have found the exit from the chamber. So you intend to go through with the dwarf's test. You tell the dwarf that you are ready, and he beckons you to follow him, telling Throm to wait for his return. A secret door opens in the chamber wall, and you follow the dwarf into a small circular room. He closes the door behind you and hands you 2 bone dice, telling you to throw them on the floor.
Bone dice? Doom Guide, did you help
roll
make
a
this
6
dungeon?
and a 2, a total of 8.
Okay.
The dwarf asks you to roll them again, but this time you must predict whether the total will be the same, less, or more than the 8.
2 dice, so it's probably going to be the same or less. It's more likely to be less than 8. Right? Or is that dead? No. Yeah, no, not... Yeah, okay. I like his loop there. Eddie, you all right there, Eddie? You're looking a little flushed. You kind of swayed a bit, man. I swear, if this DM turns out to be a drunk as well, shit. Okay. We'll guess less than 8. I do have a high luck. I don't know if luck's gonna play into this, but less than 8.
The dwarf looks at the dice.
Not very good at playing the odds, are you?
Fuck
and
you!
sneers.
I regret you must suffer a penalty before you can continue.
What the fuck?
From out of his pocket, he
Fucking
produces
dice,
2
man.
pills.
Hate this shit.
One
Actually, I
is
love this shit.
stamped with the letter
Also,
S,
welcome,
and
Salamanders.
the other stamped with the letter L.
L?
He asks you to choose one and swallow it.
Is this dwarf telling me to take the fucking L? Is it S or L? I already lost the dice test, right? That's an L, yeah. I'm just gonna take the L. Let's take the L.
The pill makes you feel as though the whole world is against you, reducing your luck points by 2.
That's fine. I have a luck potion. I lose
The dwarf
nothing.
tells you that you can now go on to the second stage of the test. He reaches for a wicker basket which, he informs you, contains a snake. He tips the basket over and the snake drops out onto the floor. It is a cobra, and it rears up in the air ready to strike. The dwarf tells you that he wishes to test your reactions. You must grasp the cobra bare-handed below its head, avoiding its deadly fangs. You crouch down on the floor, tensing yourself for the moment at which to seize it. This will be a tough test of your skill.
Okay. Oof.
With lightning
Nice.
speed, you thrust your hand out
Firmly
and grip the cobra
grasp
just below
it.
its open mouth. You lift it up, and with your arm outstretched, you dangle it in front of the dwarf.
Yeah. Fuck you,
He doesn't
dwarf.
flinch, but says in his calm, expressionless way,
Please put the cobra back in the basket and prepare for the final part of the test. Follow me.
you do what he says and follow him back into the chamber, where Throm is pacing up and down, obviously.
Throb, you are fucked, buddy.
You wave to him while the dwarf opens a second secret door and tells you to walk on through and wait for him. Again, you comply, and you find yourself in another circular room, although this one resembles a small arena.
Oh, now it's a 1v1, right?
The floor is covered with sand, and a small balcony runs around the arena wall. Opposite the secret entrance you came in through is an ominous-looking wooden door.
Ominous.
Suddenly you hear a shout, and you look up to see the smiling dwarf standing on the balcony. He throws 2 pieces of paper down to you. On one of them, the words, "No crop is," are written.
Okay.
On the other, "Ruin Moat." In his ever-calm voice, he says,
Ruin Moat.
If you rearrange the letters of the words, you will find the names
Manticore?
of 2 creatures.
Manticore.
You may choose which one to fight in my arena of death.
Okay,
Can you identify the creature by rearranging the letters?
it's definitely Manticore. No, yeah, so M-A... Yeah, M-A-N-T-I... There's no... Is it only separate? A D&D type thing? Basically, yeah, this guy's DM, Eddie Marsan here, is the DM of a tabletop called Deathtrap Dungeon. And as it turns out, I saw in the intro credits, it said that Ian Livingstone made Deathtrap Dungeon. And I was like, who the fuck is Ian Livingstone? Why is that name so familiar? Ian Livingstone is one of the co-founders of Games Workshop, as it were. Minotaur? Oh, okay. So this is Minotaur. So what's this? What's no crop? So this is a Minotaur. What is no crop? Is Sip? No. Pro? No. Cronus? No. I got a barb. I think it's just me fighting it though. I think it's a 1v1. The Throm is still back in the other chamber. Cront? No. Spick? No. I can't identify either of the creatures. Because I have notes on monsters, but they're not. I don't think it's either of these. Yeah, I have a note on a Manticore, and I found a note on the Blood Beast. But I don't think I'm gonna be able to fight either of those here, so. Well, the Minotaur is probably gonna beat my ass as well. Can I drink my luck potion? I can. Not getting no crop. Yeah, that's I don't. Roop? Porkins? Oh well, at least we know that this one's definitely Minotaur. Oh my. So I'm not gonna drink my fortune potion yet. If I lose luck again, I'll definitely drink it. What, 10 is pretty solid. That's definitely my favor. I can only lose on 11 or 12. Okay, I'm curious. What is the no crop? Because this is a Minotaur, but what is this?
You call out to the dwarf, telling him to send in the
Scorpion!
Because you are ready to fight.
Oh wait, what size scorpion? Is this a big scorpion or a little
The
one?
wooden door rises, and a huge, grotesque black scorpion squeezes underneath it.
I think maybe I should have took the Minotaur.
You draw your sword in readiness and prepare to fight the sinister creature.
All right.
With its huge pincers and deadly sting. The scorpion will attack you with both pincers, and you must treat each
He gets
pincer
2 attacks.
as a separate creature, as though you were fighting two.
Okay, I did this with the goblins over.
Each pincer has its own skill level and will attack you separately in each attack
Should have went with the
round.
devil I knew, huh?
You can only fight 1 pincer in each attack round.
Scorpion
attacking
CGI.
it as in a normal battle.
Dwayne Johnson
Against
comes
the
out.
other pincer, you must
CGI
still
Dwayne
attack in
Johnson.
the normal way. But you will not wound it, even if your attack strength is greater. You must count this as
Okay,
though
so
you
this is
have
the
just
same
fended off
rules
its blow.
as. I'm gonna kill. I can kill one.
If its attack strength
I just
is
need to
greater than
survive 3
yours,
rounds. That's the big thing.
it will have wounded you in the normal way.
Alright, you son of a bitch. Let's eat some food and heal up.
You quickly eat some provisions, increasing your stamina by 4
Scorpion
points.
steak. Yummers. I got a huge pincer with deadly sting. It's a garage. Down, Salamanders. Down!
You manage to get around the back of your enemy, but
Shit.
it quickly kicks backward, catching you agonizing.
This is gonna hurt. This fight is gonna hurt a lot. You're gonna fight an absolute menace. Yeah, this guy's gonna beat my ass, dude. The fact that he gets 2 attacks
Try
per
to
round.
run around the side of the creature.
Son of a
It
bitch,
grabs
man.
your arm,
He's got too many
throwing you
legs.
hard into the wall.
Oh, that's round 1. We just gotta survive 2 more rounds. No big deal.
The scorpion charges at you with its pincers snapping.
Oh, okay. We're good. We're good.
You're able to jump quickly enough to avoid their sharp point.
Nice, nice. Second pincer.
The
Okay, nice,
scorpion
nice, nice,
swings
nice.
Its tail at
We're
you,
doing good.
but you are fast enough to roll out
Okay,
of the way.
that's round 2. Nice, come on.
Your speed is improving. You run directly at the scorpion and slice at its pincer as you run
Hell
by.
yeah. All right. Second pincer.
The scorpion takes a run at you. Its speed is
Damn.
impressive, but you jump aside, landing a heavy blow on its back.
Swordman strikes. All right. Come on. Come on. Yes.
The scorpion swings its huge venomous tail
Oh,
above
fuck
its
yeah.
head. You step aside as it smashes into the floor, and you land an attack from the side.
Gotcha. All right. Last round against this. This fight's mine. I should be good.
The swinging venomous tail is a formidable weapon,
Oh god.
and you shriek as it sinks into your arm.
Ow.
The
It's
dwarf
okay, I win.
calls down from the balcony,
I survived 3 rounds. I win.
congratulating you on your victory. He throws the sack down into the arena and tells you to relax and regain your strength for the final part of the test,
Hear what I
Then
said
he
about
walks
Hunter from
off,
Attack on Titan under Serious
saying
Chat the
he
other
will return
night.
in about 10 minutes.
That's the glasses.
You open the sack and find a jug of
Girl from
wine
Attack on Titan,
and a
right?
cooked chicken.
Cooked chicken. Okay. This dwarf is like really, like I don't. He doesn't really have anything against us. He's just kind of doing his job. So I'm gonna sit and eat with the dwarf. Yeah, I'll eat your chicken.
The food and drink are excellent, and you feel much better, gaining 2 more stamina
Oh
points.
fuck yeah. Free
Fully
heal.
satisfied, you sit down and await the dwarf's return.
Next up is
After about
Throm.
20 minutes, the dwarf reappears on the balcony. He calls down to you, saying,
Well, I do have an interesting problem on my hands. Prepare to fight your next opponent.
the wooden door rises
Throm?
once again, and you are surprised to see
I
a
fuck yeah. I
familiar
knew this was
face.
gonna happen. What happened to his Minotaur?
It is Throm.
Yeah. Okay.
He is cut and badly bruised and doesn't seem to recognize you. He is clearly delirious as he staggers forward with his axe,
think Throm's,
raised to attack you. The dwarf laughs
I think his
and
test
says,
went pretty bad.
The cobra bit him,
Oh my
but
god.
he has the strength of an ox and managed to carry on, even though most men would have died. Now you must fight him to decide finally which of you will continue the trial of champions.
You shout abuse at the dwarf,
Fuck you,
protesting
dwarf!
the cruelty of such a contest. He merely laughs, and you have no option but to defend yourself against poor Throm. Despite his wounds, he is immensely strong.
It's crude but not rude. All right, let me hear it. Let me hear how nasty it is, man. Gonna eat
You
heal
quickly
first because
eat
Throm's
some
gonna beat my ass.
provisions, increasing
He's
your
juiced up.
stamina
Yeah, he
by
is.
4
He's on fucking
points.
roids right now. All right. Come on, Throm. Ooh. Okay,
He drops
nice.
to the ground, sweeping away Throm's legs. You hate it as he howls as his head hits the hard
I'm
ground.
sorry, Throm, but it's you or me. It has come to this, man to man, mano y mano, toe to toe, nose to nose.
Throm grabs you by the throat and manages to half choke you before you get a chance to push him off.
Come on. Nice.
Parry
Wait.
Throm's attack, but he is too strong.
Shit.
And you trip,
It's okay.
cracking your head on
I
the
lived.
floor as you fall.
Exhausted by your long duel, you fall to your knees as you stare at Throm's still body.
Did kill him.
A bitter loathing for the dwarf fills your heart. Somehow, you will avenge Throm.
I will avenge Throm.
Engulfed in your
Here's my
hatred,
barbarian bro.
you do not notice the dwarf enter the arena until he is standing right in front of you, a loaded crossbow aimed at your chest.
I know what you are thinking,
He says calmly.
but remember that only I know the way out of here. Get up. It's time for you to leave.
Once on your feet, the dwarf indicates that you should walk ahead of him. Back in the chamber,
I would eat a mile
he
of her
crosses
shit just to hear her
over
piss in
to
the
the
styrofoam
northern
cover.
and pushes against one of its stones.
Spray it more, Doom
A
Guy.
door-like section of the wall swings out, opening into another crystal-lit tunnel. With his crossbow still aimed at your chest, the dwarf smiles, saying,
Good luck.
I'm not gonna punch the dwarf. I want to. But I don't want to that bad. He's got the crossbow aimed at me, man. Like, he could just end me right here. No, I'm punching him. Fuck you.
The dwarf is expecting your move.
He's gonna end me.
Furthermore,
I just died, didn't
you
I?
are not as fast as you should be because of your recent ordeal, so he easily evades your punch, saying,
I could kill you now if I wished, but I yearn for a hand-to-hand fight.
Then he throws down his crossbow.
Oh, he's throwing hands!
And draws
He's-
an axe from his belt.
Oh, okay, he's got it. Okay, it's
Despite your
okay.
fatigue, you think only of vengeance.
I thought we were gonna fist fight right
Because
here.
of your condition, you must reduce your skill by 2 for the duration of the battle.
He's not that much. Okay, yeah, let's fucking come here. Here, you little bastard. Oh
Dwarf
shit!
ducks as you swing at it, smashing its axe onto your leg.
Come here. Hold still.
Not ready with your sword, you kick out at the dwarf,
So I
but it
kick my
catches
ass.
onto your leg.
I'm gonna outlive
flipping
him,
you
so I'm gonna win
backwards
the
and
fight.
smashing your head on the ground.
Does he just have to outlive? I'm gonna heal up though. Definitely heal.
You quickly eat some provisions, increasing your stamina by 4 points.
Okay, now I'm gonna kill him. He
You
rolled
run at
fucking
the dwarf,
huge the
but it's
entire
ready
time.
for you, and lands a punch squarely on your chin.
The now dead dwarf's chainmail coat
Yo,
is of the finest quality iron,
chainmail.
obviously made by a master armorer. You strip it from his body and place
That's the
it over your
funniest shit
head,
ever. It is pretty vile.
gaining you 1 skill point.
Yes, it's
There
worth
is
it.
nothing else of use to you in the chamber, so you decide to investigate the new tunnel, which soon divides into 2. You hear a buzzing sound coming from the western branch.
Okay, always left is my rule. I will not break this rule. I am going to heal though. I got 2 fortune potions. Nah, it's still my favorite. I'm gonna eat this though. Alright, let's go west.
There is a large panel of glass in the left-hand wall of the tunnel. Through it, you can see a bright, torch-lit room
That.
teeming with giant insects. of
I don't care about any of that. I want
possible
that.
description. Bees, wasps, beetles, ticks. Even the mites are over 6 centimeters long.
Ew, those are huge ass
The
fucking
noise is threatening.
bugs.
In the middle of the room, a jeweled crown lies on top of a small table. What looks like a large diamond is set in the middle of the crown.
Diamonds. I want diamonds.
You smash the glass with the hilt of your sword, making a hole big enough to climb through.
Please don't tell me this fucking killed me.
Immediately, the giant insects start swarming and jumping towards you. Wasting no time, you clamber into the room, grabbing one of the lit torches to defend yourself. The fire keeps most of the insects at bay, but by the time you have snatched the crown and climbed back into the corridor, some of them
Okay,
have
is this
stung
a
you.
stamina? Do I lose stamina?
We'll roll 1 die and add 2 to the total to decide how many stings you have
Oh my
suffered,
god.
reducing your
No.
stamina by 1 for each sting.
The giant insects do not
That
chase
hurt a
you,
lot. Okay.
preferring the bright light of the room they are in. You examine the crown and see with disgust that it is merely painted iron.
Are you fucking
And the
kidding me?
diamond is just glass and totally worthless. You throw it on the ground in a rage and wonder which way to go next.
Damn, I had to throw it down in a rage. Eddie, you are tricking me, motherfucker, and it's not good, man. It's not cool. Let's go west.
Ahead, in the far distance, you hear the sound of slow footsteps coming towards you. Unsure of who or what might be approaching, you look around for a place to hide. You see a large crack in the tunnel wall which lies in shadow.
Not really about the stealth, so let's stand our ground. This is some lichy shit. Yeah, this guy Eddie here is bullshitting me out of my fucking treasure, man. I could have had a diamond. I got my emerald and topaz. Oh, I didn't.
You
pick
have
that.
to
Oh, well.
squeeze yourself deep into the crack to conceal yourself completely.
I meant to pick the stand ground. Oh well.
From this cramped position, you are unable to see the owner of the feet that shuffle slowly by. A minute later, all is quiet again as you pull yourself back out into the tunnel and head west. After a short while, you arrive at another junction in the tunnel with a choice of 2 directions.
North or west? Always left, so this is technically... We're gonna hug the wall. Always hug the wall. We're going west.
The tunnel turns sharply to the right and continues north for as far as you can see. There is a door in the left-hand wall which is ajar, and you hear someone cry for help from the other side of it.
I've opened every door so far, so let's open a door.
The door opens into a small room with a straw-covered floor. There is a large draped cage standing
What's
some 2
that?
meters high in the center of the room. A cord fixed to the top of the drape runs through an iron ring in the ceiling and hangs down to the floor.
Okay, who's under there? They called for help.
You pull the cord and watch the drape as it rises up the sides of an iron cage. The woman's voice urges you to be quick, telling you that the room is booby-trapped, so that the floor will fall away in 1 minute because of your extra weight.
Ah, okay. Do you still wish to help her? She could be helpful as a companion. She might be like Throb.
The drape rises to the top of the cage, and there, to your horror, you see the face of an aged woman whose hair is a mass of seething snakes.
Oh, it's a fucking
It is the dreaded Medusa.
Medusa.
Are you lucky enough to avoid her gaze?
The luck is in my favor still.
Recognizing the snake-like head of the Medusa,
Too slow.
you close your eyes to avoid her deadly stare that would turn you to stone.
I've already been turned to stone once this game. Why would I attack her? Why would I enter her? Okay, come on now. No, let's leave.
The tunnel continues.
gonna fight her
for quite a
blind?
distance
No.
Before
No.
you reach a junction.
West. Okay, let's go west. Always left.
Ahead, you see that the tunnel turns a corner, beyond which it continues north. You stop before the corner, startled by the sound of high-pitched voices, whispering and sniggering.
Let me look at the map. All right.
You peep around the corner and see 2 small creatures running away
The
from
hell are
you.
those gnomes?
Both are dressed in baggy clothes and wear pointed floppy hats. They are mischievous
Leprechauns! Where there's leprechauns, there is piles of gold. And I want that.
running after the leprechauns. You hear more laughter, only now it is behind you. You look round and see 6 more emerging from a hidden door in the tunnel wall.
There's a lot of leprechauns.
Yet another leprechaun drops on your back from a ledge fixed to the ceiling. Shaking him off, you draw your sword, whereupon the laughing gets even louder.
They're not attacking me. At the same time, I feel like letting these leprechauns congregate is a bad idea, right? But attacking them would also be bad. These guys are the luck monsters, so. But I have a high luck. Let's walk past leprechauns.
You push past the 2 leprechauns and head off north, the noise of jeering and laughter ringing in your ears. Further up the tunnel, you stop to rest and check your belongings. Any jewels you had.
No!
The leprechauns that landed on your back stole them from your backpack.
No! My
You cursed the
jewels!
thieving leprechauns.
You
and
little
set off
bastards!
north.
They took my
Yeah.
fucking gems. This lover's probably
The
made
tunnel
funny
leads
horror movies.
north for some distance.
I curse
before
more,
coming
Davis.
to a dead end. The mouth of a chute protrudes from the tunnel's eastern wall. It seems to be the only way out. So you decide to risk it and climb into the chute. You slide gently down and emerge in a new room, landing on your back. As soon as you stand up, you are confronted by the most repulsive sight you have ever laid eyes on. There in front of you, wallowing in a circular pool of fetid slime,
Is it a blood beast?
is a bulbous creature too horrible to be believed.
Ah, look at that
Its
art!
body is green and
This thing
covered
is sick.
all over with fearsome-looking spikes. Its face is a mass of crimson blisters, one of which suddenly bursts to reveal yet another of its many sinister, all-seeing eyes. A narrow path runs around the edge of the pool and leads into another tunnel in the far wall. Remembering the description of the vile blood beast and the warning
Yeah, I have
about
the description.
toxic gas rising from its pool, you cover your mouth with your sleeve and step forward with your sword drawn, wary of the blood beast's tongue. As you step around
it's
the
a fight.
side of the pool, it rolls forward and flicks out its tongue. You are ready for it and cleave it with one swipe of your sword.
Boom!
The beast howls in pain and stretches
Like
forward
this.
frantically, trying to clasp you between its blood-filled jaws. You start hacking at its hideous face in an attempt to pierce its real eyes.
All right. 12? Come on, come on, come on.
The blood beast's tail whips around you. You duck, but not quickly enough, and it punctures your arm deeply.
Okay, again. This blood beast is max attack stat, dude. Oh my
Breathing heavily during your fight,
damn.
you begin to succumb to the toxic gas and fall, cracking your head on the floor.
Ow. Again. 3rd round. I can live. It's just, oh my.
The creature reaches for you with its mouth.
You know,
and
for a
paw.
guy that rolled max luck,
You
my
step
attacks,
back to avoid
my
it,
attack
but
rolls
slip
are
on its fetid slime.
starting to.
It sinks its teeth into your ankle,
Decay.
costing you precious stamina.
Your blade strikes one of the blood beast's real eyes with devastating effect. It slumps back into its pool, thrashing about in a frenzy. You seize the opportunity and run around the side of the pool to the tunnel exit. The tunnel leads into a large room, its ceiling supported by several marble pillars. As you enter the room, you see a strange beast to your right. It has the body of a
It's a
lion
manticore.
with dragon-like wings attached to it.
I have the note on the
But its
Manticore
head
too.
is like that of an old bearded man. You recognize the beast. It is a manticore.
Taking heed of the warning poem you took from the skeleton warrior, you watch out for its tail, which sprouts a profusion of sharp spikes at its tip.
Right, I got the note
Thick
on this,
and
so
hard
he
as
won't get
iron
me with his
bolts.
initial attack.
You raise your shield in front of you just in time to protect yourself from a volley of spikes released from the manticore's tail and aim straight at your heart. They sink into your shield, and you remain unharmed. Swiftly, you draw your sword and advance on the manticore.
Okay, I need to start healing. So, provisions. I have 3 heals left.
You quickly eat some provisions, increasing your stamina by 4 points.
Attack. He's got 11 attack. The Leprechaun movies are so good. They're
You run
the
to
epitome
avoid the
of
whipping
cheese.
tail.
Okay,
and
nice,
stumble.
nice. This is fine.
And with a speed you could never have imagined, it tries to sink its teeth into your leg. But you move just in time.
My favorite
Neither of
Leprechaun
you
movie is
are
Leprechaun Goes to the Hood with Snoop Dogg. Attack 24. Come on. Oh
You
my
seize
God.
an opportunity to attack the creature's leg,
Oh.
but it's ready for you. And before you can strike, it rips your leg with its razor-sharp claws.
Seal up again.
You quickly eat some provisions,
I think
increasing your
I should have
stamina
took
by
the
4 points.
the stamina potion. Attack. I say attack. Oh my.
You run to avoid the whipping tail, but stumble.
I just can't catch
The
a break with
spike
these
from
attack
it
rolls now.
cuts agonizingly into your shoulder. As you are wiping the manticore's blood from your sword, you are surprised to see a small man jump out from behind one of the marble pillars. He is dressed in a
What the
tight-fitting
fuck
green
is that a
tunic
gnome?
and looks quite harmless, although you are wary of the
Look how small
way
he
he
is.
is holding an opaque glass ball with a shimmering green light.
Ooh.
Greetings, he says cheerfully. My name is Igbot, the gnome,
Egg butt the gnome. Okay,
and
he's a
I am
gnome.
the trial master
That's
for
my
your
dude.
final test.
Idle
Needless
test.
to say, my magical powers are great, so you should not try to attack me.
Best characters in Valor.
You
Right
may
at the
have
end of the game.
learnt during your quest that gems play an essential part in the trial of
The
champions.
leprechauns took my gems.
The iron door in front of you is the victory exit, but there is only one way of opening it. 3 gems have to be put into the lock mechanism in the correct order.
Did I already lose?
Each gem radiates a unique energy, which will trigger the mechanism. If you do it correctly, that is. But first, we need the correct gem.
I don't have any gems. They got stolen by the
First,
leprechauns.
You will need an emerald.
You know, it's so funny, Mr. Igbutt. I had an
The
emerald.
gnome shakes his head.
I
and
had one. I
says,
really did.
I'm afraid that you have failed the trial of champions. Baron Succumvit's Deathtrap dungeon will keep its secrets for another year, as you will not be allowed to leave here. You are appointed my servant for the rest of your days to prepare and modify the dungeon for future contestants. Perhaps, in another life, you will succeed.
Eddie! Eddie! I had gems. I had them. I had them. I lost them back here. No.
The tunnel continues for quite a distance.
Hold up. Hold the fuck on. No. We're not going to the leprechauns. I'm not fighting no blood beasts and no
velvet
manticores.
curtain is draped over an archway in the eastern wall of the tunnel.
I have 2 gems. Servant boy. I will not face such an embarrassing end. Pull back the curtain. Who's got gems? Someone has gems
You
in this
enter a
fucking dungeon.
cold room, divided by a deep chasm. A rope is stretched taut across the chasm to the far side, where a magnificent winged helmet
Yo.
rests on top of a pole.
I want that.
Testing every last drop of your skill, you step nervously onto the rope, not daring to look down. Halfway across, you start to panic and lose your footing.
No.
Walking on a rope like this requires skill.
It's in my favor.
will test yours.
Yes. I want that helmet.
As you fall, you manage to grab the rope
Lucky.
with your hands. Slowly,
Just
you
barely.
haul yourself over to the far side and scramble up onto the floor. You lift the helmet off the pole and put it on your head. It has been made by a highly skilled ironsmith and increases your skill by 1 point.
Yes! Fuck yeah.
Not wanting to risk walking back across the tightrope, you decide to crawl along it. Safely back on firm ground, you step through the archway and head north up the tunnel. The tunnel continues north a long way before turning sharp right. Around the corner, you come to a dead end. Only the mouth of a wooden chute in the wall offers any hope of further progress. You decide to
Okay,
take
this
a
is the
chance.
final chamber, right? It is. Okay, these both go the same way. This has a helmet of skill. Leprechauns steal gems, and then you fight a manticore and a fucking blood beast. Whatever.
And climb into the chute. You slide gently
I have
down
2 gems.
and emerge into a room, landing on your back. As soon as you stand up, you are confronted by the most repulsive sight you
Or
have
is this
ever
the blood
laid
beast
eyes on.
fight?
There in front of you, wallowing in
No,
a
this is the
circular
blood beast fight. Okay.
Again,
Nice.
the bulbous creature strikes for you with its hideous fangs. You jump clear of them, striking out and smashing one clean out of its hideous mouth.
Okay, second round.
The creature
Damn.
reaches for you with its mouth from the pool. You step back to avoid it, but slip on its fetid slime. It sinks its teeth into your ankle, costing you precious stamina.
Alright, final round.
The blood beast's tail whips
Of
around
course.
you.
This is
You
the end of the
duck,
dungeon,
but
though,
not
so-
quickly enough,
It's not
and it
big
punctures
of a
your
loss.
arm deeply. Your blade strikes one of the blood beast's.
Okay, we saw this.
The tunnel leads in. You recognize.
Manticore.
You raise your shield.
Okay, we have the note, so we don't take initial damage. I'm gonna eat though. So I don't
You
want to die
quickly
right
eat
here.
some provisions, increasing your stamina by 4 points.
Attack.
You run to avoid the whipping
This
tail,
Manticore, man.
stumble, and a spike
I
from
rolled
it
so well,
thuds
too.
agonizingly into your shoulder.
This is ours, though. This fight's ours.
The
Holy
creature
shit, he
runs
just keeps
directly
fucking
at
rolling
you. You move too late, and the creature smashes you onto a wall, costing you valuable stamina.
Let me eat provisions.
You quickly eat some
Heal
provisions,
up.
increasing your stamina by 4 points.
And heal? Or sorry, attack?
The giant
Nice.
creature whips its spiked tail at you, firing more spikes. You duck and roll, quickly slicing a chunk from its tail, passing close to you.
Okay.
As you are wiping the manticore,
If I can't bullshit a gem out of this final encounter,
you are surprised
with
to
the,
see a
the
small
gnome,
man
then
jump out from behind one
I
of
will
the
accept
marble
my fate,
pillars.
because I don't know where the other gem is.
He is
gems
dressed
are.
in a tight-fitting green tunic and looks quite harmless,
Yeah, let me drink this.
although you are wary of the way he is holding an opaque glass ball with a shimmering green light. Greetings!
Yeah,
He
fuck you, Inkbutt.
The gnome smiles.
There's
and
the
says,
emerald.
You truly are a great adventurer.
I am.
Now, you will also
Sapphire?
need a sapphire.
What about a topaz? Take the topaz, man.
The gnome shakes his head and says, I'm afraid that you have failed the trial of champions. Baron Succumbert's
This-
Deathtrap dungeon will keep its secrets for another year, as you will not be allowed to leave here.
Yeah, this dungeon is enormous. Where does one get a sapphire? It's possible the Medusa has one. The leprechauns might have them. They might if they stole. If they steal gems, yeah.
The tunnel can.
That helmet is useless because well, I mean it's not useless. It helps against the final fights. But I don't.
Ahead.
Right, we're gonna attack the leprechauns, see if they have gems. Follow.
Running.
Attack.
Before you can take a single step towards the leprechauns, one of them throws some sparkling dust at you. You're immediately frozen to the spot, unable to move a muscle. You watch helplessly as the leprechauns rummage through your backpack and run off with all your possessions, leaving your backpack empty and also robbing you of 2 luck points.
So, okay.
About an hour later, the freezing effect of the dust wears off and feeling returns to your limbs. You are angry at your loss and stomp off north, determined to have your revenge.
But it's just the shoot after, there's no more
The
leprechauns.
tunnel leads north for some distance before coming to a dead end. The mouth of a chute.
So, okay, so the leprechaun, this is just, this hallway right here, you just lose. This is what fucks you over at the end of the game. It's possible the Medusa might have the sapphire. At the same time, I didn't check the store. Son of a
After a
bitch,
short
man.
while, you arrive
Thank you, Eddie. I understand. Go north. Medusa can make men hard as a rock
set
just
back
looking
in
at
the
them.
arched alcove in the tunnel wall. You see an ornate wooden chair carved in the shape of a demon-like bird of prey.
Of course, I'm going to sit in the chair. Why wouldn't I sit in this
You
ominous
grip the
chair?
arms of the chair tightly, half expecting a surge of energy or pain to rush through your body. Do you think luck is on your
If
side?
there's anything on my side, it's the luck. See?
Squeezing the arm of the chair triggers a secret panel, which springs into the air. You find a glass vial lying in a cavity. You pick it up and read the label. Doppelganger potion, 1 dose only.
Doppelganger.
This liquid will make your body take on the shape of a nearby being. You place the strange potion in your backpack and continue north, where the tunnel starts to slope downwards and finally comes to an end at a deep pool enclosed by the tunnel wall. There does not appear to be any way of traveling further north. You turn around and walk back down the tunnel, passing the wooden chair, where you soon arrive at the junction and turn right to head west.
Become a leprechaun, steal from
The
them.
tunnel turns sharply to the right and continues north.
I
for
might be
as
able
far
to.
as you can see.
This game.
There is a door in the left-hand wall which is ajar, and you hear someone
Right,
cry
this is
for
the
help from the
Medusa.
other side of it.
The thing is I can't like just use these things. It seems like they're really specific encounters that you can use them. Like, I don't know what this does. I don't know what that does. I don't know what these do. This is just a passive. I don't know what this does. Okay, I'll try to
The door
fight
opens
the
into a
Medusa.
small-
We'll drape. Or it's gonna fall.
Recognizing the snake-like,
Medusa, okay.
the Medusa shrieks as you enter her cage. Keeping your eyes firmly closed and slashing your sword wildly from side to side, you feel the blade sink deep into her side and hear a loud thud as she slumps heavily to the ground.
No, I just killed her, okay.
You open your eyes again and shudder at the sight of the prostrate figure of the Medusa. Her gown is fastened by a large brooch, bearing a single bright red gem.
That's not
It
a
is
sapphire.
garnet.
A
You
garnet.
prize it out of its setting, put it in your
That
pocket,
doesn't help me.
and leave the room to head.
Emeralds? Sapphire.
The tunnel continues for quite
It's
a
possible that
distance
garnet's
before
one of
you
the
reach a
three, but...
junction.
Okay, let's try the leprechaun thing. Let's see if it gives me a prop to use the potion. On a corner. Follow leprechauns. Can I not? Okay. No, not that one. Yeah, there's no... I can't, like... actively use it. Same with this dagger.
Before you can take a single
Yeah, no, okay. The leprechaun is the dead end. Why does it give me the doppelganger so soon then? Or like right here at the end? There must be some prompt to use this potion, right?
Tunnel leads north for some distance before
Come on. Go back here.
coming to
I should have my...
The tunnel continues
I saw the potion,
quite a
okay.
distance before you reach.
North. I'm not too worried about the
tunnel.
helmet.
As soon as you stand up,
Okay, we're gonna attack. Oh man,
Creature
that max
turns
roll.
and whips its tail.
Hell yeah. Okay, again. And then he
The
gets a deer
blood
max
beast's
roll.
tail whips around.
Prick. And then I get a shit roll.
Breathing heavily during your fight.
Ow.
your blade strikes one of the blood beast's real. The tunnel leads. You reckon.
Manticore fights.
You raise.
Eat, so I'm not
You
killed.
quickly eat some provisions, increasing your stamina by 4 points.
Nice.
You lunge at the creature's stomach with your.
Okay. Round 2.
The creature runs.
Now I'm hoping it gives me a prompt to use the doppelganger potion in front of the last
You
guy.
seize an opportunity.
As you are wiping the man, the gnome smiles and says,
Emerald.
"You truly are a great adventurer.
Yeah, I can't.
Now, you will also need a sapphire."
No sapphire.
The gnome shakes his head.
It's good, good YouTube poop edit. Okay, why? So, I don't know why it's giving me the doppelganger potion here. This is our, you get a garnet here, but that doesn't help the door here. It's possible there's a sapphire this way. This was a trap.
The now dead dwarf's.
Continue north.
The tunnel leads into a dark chamber, covered in thick cobwebs. Clawing your way through them, you trip over a wooden casket.
Open the casket. We're looking for a
The
sapphire.
casket opens easily, and inside there is a black velvet bag
Containing a sapphire.
containing a large
Son of a
pearl,
bitch. Oh.
gaining you 1 luck point.
Oh, hell yeah.
After putting the pearl in your pocket, you press on
Pearl.
through the cobwebs.
So,
You reach the far
Okay.
wall of the chamber and see 2 doors.
the left, I guess.
As you touch the door handle, it goes soft in your hand. And when you try to pull it away, you find your hand is now glued to
Poor
the
door, he
handle.
must be so embarrassed.
A giant fist then forms in the center of the door panel and
Oh,
shoots
shit.
forward, punching you in the stomach, costing you 1 stamina point.
Joke.
With your free hand, you reach into your backpack and take out the jug, uncorking
Oh,
it with
the
your
acid.
teeth. You pour the acid over the door, which is in fact the fluid form of an imitator. A jet of smoke rises
Like a
from it
mimic?
with a loud hissing sound as the acid immediately starts
legally
to burn
distinct
the creature.
mimic?
It melts rapidly, and you are able to step away unharmed. Having no other choice, you somewhat apprehensively turn the handle of the other door.
It's a blimic, yeah.
The door opens into another tunnel running north. Ahead, you see two stone fountains,
Oh.
one on either side of the tunnel, carved in the shape of cherubs. Water spouts from their mouths and cascades into small bowls at their feet.
Does this give me a sapphire? That's all I care about at this point. Drink. Drink.
The cool water is refreshing, but it comes from a source which has been cursed
Of
by
course.
a hag,
Thank you, Eddie.
adding 1 stamina point,
A hag? Oh,
but costing you 2 luck points.
that's completely fine because I have a luck potion. Drink from the other potion, or other fountain.
The cool water is refreshing and comes from a source which has been sprinkled with pixie dust, gaining
Oh.
you 1 stamina point and 2 skill points.
Oh, damn.
You continue north.
Okay, alright.
Leaning against
Hold
the
on.
left-hand wall
Nah, I'm
of the
drinking
tunnel,
one of these. There you go.
you see a pair of bamboo stilts. They are securely chained, and you see a label attached to a padlock, which reads, "The price of these stilts is 1 gold piece. Place the coin in the slot to release the lock."
Well, I got 2 coins by the stilts.
There is a slot in the padlock into which you place the coin. Immediately the lock
stilts for?
clicks apart,
This is the end of the dungeon, isn't it?
and you are able to unchain the stilts. You place them on your shoulder and once again set off.
The sound was told by when it was 30 plus.
A little farther on, you come to a section of the tunnel which is covered with thick green slime,
We respect
Looks
hags around these
threatening.
parts.
so you decide to test it first with a piece of cloth. The slime's corrosive jelly burns the cloth instantly,
Would be a slime.
leaving no trace. You climb onto your stilts and take a few tentative steps across the floor. Your confidence grows, and you soon feel able to tackle the walk across the slime. Smoke rises from the base of the stilts as the slime starts to burn them away. You plod stolidly on
Stolidly?
and finally reach firm ground again. Unfortunately, the stilts are still covered in slime, and you are forced to dump them. Setting off north, you come to a junction.
Interesting. Okay, west, I suppose. I want a sapphire.
You walk no more than
Enjoy
3
hag
meters
maxes
west
here, right? A hag for the
before you
community.
hit an
Very much
invisible
so.
barrier. It starts fizzing and crackling, and you are thrown back. You have hit an energy screen, losing you 1 stamina point.
Thank you, Eddie.
There is no alternative but to walk back to the junction and head.
I'm sure there's something that lets you go past that, right?
You soon arrive at a double door in the left-hand wall. You listen at the door but hear nothing. You try the handle, it turns, and you open the left door slightly and peer through the crack. An armed warrior is lying face down on
one
the
of the
floor of a bare room
Contestants.
with smooth walls and a low ceiling. He is presumably dead,
He's
for
dead,
he
Jim.
makes no movement, even when you call out to him. A large jewel, perhaps a diamond,
No, I don't want to.
lies just beyond
Diamond.
his
I
outstretched
want a
arm.
sapphire. Well, let me see this encounter.
You're about to enter the room when the potion of trap detection begins to work, and you are filled with a terrible premonition of danger. The room is set with a deadly trap.
I mean, now it's much as obvious.
You decide not to go in and continue north along the tunnel.
Interesting.
The tunnel
Okay.
continues north for quite a distance before coming to a dead end. The mouth of a chute protrudes from the
Okay, this leads to the end. Okay. I got tricked by a diamond earlier, so I'm assuming the diamonds are just... You can't... There's not actual diamonds for you to get. Shit, okay. This is a long way back. God, okay. We'll go for a little bit longer.
The tunnel continues.
This is the goblins. The goblin fight.
You hurl your...
Would like to find a sapphire.
You bust.
The only issue is I don't know what the third gem is.
Readying your...
These goblins are kicking my ass.
You lunge. You thrust.
That's one
Your
goblin
enemy
down.
is safe.
And the next one falls just as well.
You hurl yourself. You try to run around the side of the creature, but it...
Triumphant in
We're
one
fine.
of your...
We're fine.
The cupboard can...
Right. I don't know what this is for. North door. Yeah, north door.
The door opens into another tunnel, which rises gently into the distance. After walking uphill
you see
for a
this?
while, the tunnel levels out, and you soon arrive at a door in the right-hand wall, to which a withered hand is nailed.
Open the door.
You enter a room in which a man in tattered clothing is
Oh, no.
standing chained to the wall by his left arm. And you see that his right hand is missing and realize that this must be the one nailed to the door. Pleading for mercy, he cowers back from you as far as his chains will allow.
Does he have a sapphire?
You step
That's all I
up to
care
the
about.
frightened man and cleave the chain with your sword. He drops to his knees and bows, thanking you over and over again. He tells you that 4 years ago, he entered the Trial of Champions but failed. He fell down a pit and had to be rescued by a trial master, one of Baron Succumvid's dungeon administrators. He was offered a choice between death or servitude in Deathtrap dungeon as the trial master's minion. Choosing the latter, he worked like a slave until he could stand it no longer and tried to escape. Alas, he was unsuccessful and was captured by the trial master's wandering orc guards. To teach him a lesson, they cut off his hand and condemned him to a year's imprisonment in this cell. You ask him whether he has any information that might be of use to you. He scratches his head. Well, I haven't exactly done very well in here myself, but I do know that you need to collect gems
Yes.
and precious stones if you hope to get out. I don't know why, but there it is. Without
An
another
emerald,
word,
a sapphire, and something
the
else.
ragged prisoner dashes
know where the
out
garnet
the
is.
room, turning left into the tunnel.
And the pearl.
You decide to keep heading north and turn right. There is an open pipe in the right-hand wall, about 1 meter in diameter. It is too dark to see far down it. You shout into it and hear your voice echoing down the iron pipe until eventually the sound fades away.
Or hold down the pipe. Yeah, let's go ahead. Why not?
The pipe is wet and slimy, but you crawl on into the dank darkness, slithering and sliding as you go. Suddenly your hand touches something hard and square, which feels as if it is made of wood. It rattles as you shake it, and you decide you must be holding a box.
Box. Let's keep going down. Take the box.
In the total darkness,
I had to leave my
you do not
touch.
see the pipe's downward turn. You slip and, unable to get a grip on the slimy pipe, slide over the edge. Your screams echo down the pipe as you fall the 50 meters head first to the bottom. You have failed the trial.
No! But I didn't get to see what's in the box. Okay, we can take the box, leave the pipe. Please, please let there be a sapphire in this fucking box. Please.
There is an open pipe.
Right. On the pipe.
The pipe
Okay. Crawl back out. Look in the box.
Removing the box lid by the light of the tunnel, you find an iron key and a large gem. It is a sapphire. Placing the items carefully in your backpack, you gain 1 luck point and set off
Nice.
north once again. There is a new branch in the tunnel on your left, and ahead you see 2 bodies lying on the floor. You stop and peer down the new
So
tunnel.
we have the sapphire.
But seeing
Okay.
no doors or creatures,
All right.
you decide against walking down it. With your sword drawn, you walk over to the bodies of the 2 orc guards. At least one of your rivals in the Trial of Champions must still be ahead of you. A quick search of the bodies produces nothing, apart from a necklace of teeth around the neck of one of the orcs.
Okay, the necklace gives me strength. This is a good thing to take.
The necklace is an amulet of strength.
Right, we did this. We
The
just had
tunnel
Throm last
soon
time.
ends at a
Okay, so I can get a garnet or a pearl for the final door. I really hope. So I need the emerald, I need the sapphire. I hope one of the final is the final door gems is a garnet or a pearl. Otherwise, this is going to suck. So, and that's only by heading west with the barbarian can I get those two. That's what it looks like. This is the trial with the barbarian. Okay, we go with the barbarian. These are good to read. Drink the liquid that gives me the
liquid setting
tech trap.
the tunnel.
Okay, now we fight. The 2 trolls.
You drop to the ground. The troll takes a swing at your head.
Nice. Last round.
You drop to the ground.
And win.
You look to the
Nice. Okay. I don't know what the ring does. I failed last time. I'm confident this time though.
As soon as you put the ring on your finger, your whole body starts to shake. We'll see how skillful you really are.
It's in my
Remember, a roll.
It's in my yeah, okay, yeah, I got it. Nice. What does this
Your
ring
body
do?
continues to vibrate intensely, and you feel as if you're about to pass out. But your strength is great, and you manage to withstand the tremendous shock to your system. Finally, you calm down and begin to feel the ring's beneficial powers working on you and adding 3 stamina points.
Nice.
You see Throm looking at you anxiously, so you reassure him that you are fully recovered. He strides off east, and you follow him.
Okay, nice.
Tunnel.
So this is the trials. It's faster to just go north and get the pearl. So we'll try that
leads into
first.
a damp cavern with a high ceiling.
It's straight for the archway because this is a trap room.
The tunnel ends at a large.
Right. We're gonna persuade Throm. I think this is pure luck, so I'm gonna say less than 8 again. Nice.
The dwarf congratulates you for guessing correctly. He tells you that you must now progress to the second stage of the test. He reaches for a wicker basket.
Okay, this is the snake encounter. This should be simple to get.
With lightning
Yep,
speed.
okay. Next is the pill. This is a scorpion. This is a minotaur. Fought the scorpion last time. I'm curious what the minotaurs fight. Is this any different or not?
You call out to the dwarf that you are ready to fight the Minotaur.
Minotaur.
The
Oh,
wooden
sorry.
door rises
Eddie.
slowly, and you see the fearsome beast, half man, half bull, step into the arena.
Steam blows from its nostrils as it works itself up into a rage, ready to attack.
The scorpion got
Suddenly
2 attacks
it
per
rushes
round.
forward, swinging its double-headed axe.
Okay, the Minotaur is the easy fight. I see. Sorry, Minotaur.
The Minotaur swings its huge axe above its head. You step aside as it smashes into the floor. You're able to land an attack from the side.
Okay. Nice.
Your speed is improving. You run directly at the Minotaur and slice at its leg as you run by.
And last round.
The swinging double-headed axe
Shit.
is a formidable weapon, and you shriek as it sinks into your arm.
The dwarf calls down from the balcony.
Okay, nice. I can eat. This heals me up.
The food.
Okay, next is a barbarian fight. Or Throm. He never stood a chance. Shit, he's standing a
You
chance.
grab Throm around the neck,
Okay,
but he is strong.
it's a tie, so I
and pushes
win.
you up. Neither of you are harmed. Throm is tall,
Nice.
and you duck, grab him, and ram his head hard into the wall.
Last round. For the win.
You hurl yourself at Throm, fists flailing, and land a stunning blow on his chin.
Exhausted by your long duel, you fall to your knees as you stare at Throm's still body. A bitter loathing for the dwarf fills your heart. Somehow, you will avenge Throm. Engulfed in your hatred, you do not notice the dwarf enter the arena until he is standing right in front of you, a loaded crossbow aimed at your chest.
I know what you are thinking,
He says calmly.
but remember that only I know the way out of here. Get up. It's time for you to leave.
Once on your feet, the dwarf indicates that you should walk ahead of him. Back in the chamber, he crosses over to the northern wall and pushes against one of its stones. A door-like section of the wall swings out, opening into another crystal-lit tunnel. With his crossbow still aimed at your chest, the dwarf smiles,
Okay,
saying,
nothing really changed with the dwarf. I was curious. He gets chainmail, which is, I mean, it's alright, but let's try and speed this
The
along.
tunnel soon divides into two. You hear a buzzing sound coming from the western branch.
Okay, that leads to the fake, whatever it is. So let's continue north.
The tunnel
We just keep going.
you reach
Was that the? No, I think I missed
the
the.
door.
I'm more interested in seeing what I
opens into
actually
another
the
tunnel.
final gem is. So skip this. Buy the stilts because I don't think I don't want the
little
slime to just
farther
kill
on.
me. Okay, north.
You soon arrive at a double door in the left-hand wall. You listen at the door but hear nothing. You try the handle, it turns, and you open.
Okay, take the jewel.
You're about to enter. The tunnel continues. As soon as you stand up,
Right. Blood Beast. These are the final bosses. Did you find us? I found the sapphire. Now, I don't know what the final gem is.
You
Okay.
again, the bulbous creature.
Got it.
your
got it.
blade. The tunnel, you recognize.
Manticore fight.
You
As you are wiping,
Yeah. We did. Okay, gems.
the gnome smiles
Right,
and says,
emerald.
"You truly are a great adventurer. Now, you will also need a sapphire.
We have a sapphire. What's the last gem? 2.
No. Still smiling. Says excitedly, excellent. Just 1 to go. Lastly, you'll need a diamond.
No!
The gnome shakes his
Son
head
of a
and says,
bitch, Eddie, you fucked me over.
I'm afraid that you have failed the trial of champions. Baron Sukhumvit's Deathtrap dungeon will keep its secrets for another year, as you will not be allowed to leave here. You are appointed my servant for the rest of your days to prepare and modify the dungeon for future contestants. Perhaps, in another life, you will succeed.
Okay, so the diamond could be fucking anywhere in this dungeon then. It's not gonna be near the end, right? This is the sapphire. We have the emerald from early on. What else is there? This is where I started. The diamond stone is likely fake. It wasn't likely fake, it was fake. Every diamond I've gone for has been like bullshit. It's not actually a diamond. Shit, okay,
There is a large idol in the
No, this is
center of
the-
the cavern that must
I don't care about that. That's the emerald.
be six. Not much farther down the tunnel. You come to a closed.
Or was in there.
You come to an arched doorway set and
So
not much
I'm
farther.
probably
down
gonna
the tunnel.
call it there. I'm just curious about some of these prompts. Because I did
The tunnel
ignore some of
twists
them.
and turns.
Because they seem like traps. Like this one here. Walk through the light.
As soon as your head goes under the blue light, you hear the sound of muffled voices. The faces are no longer laughing, but have changed their expressions to one of despair and anguish. A young girl's sad face hovers in front of you, and she begins to whisper a poem. Transfixed, you listen intently, believing that she has a special message for you as she recites, "When corridor doth water meet, do not make a quick retreat. Take a breath and jump deep in, if your trial you hope to win." Memorizing the spirit girl's
Is there
poem,
a swimming part?
you step through the shaft of light and quickly head on north.
Assuming she's not
You
bullshitting
come
me.
to an arched doorway set in the right-hand wall of the tunnel. The heavy stone door is closed, but there is an iron latch and a round handle.
Okay, this is bullshit over here. The room with the guy who calls you a weed had water. Oh, okay, so I want to go east here then.
The tunnel ends shortly at
Wait,
the junction.
yeah,
Looking left and right, you see
we go east here.
you walk down the passage.
There wasn't really anything at the. This was more trouble than it was worth coming down here. And none of the gems are down there, which is the main thing. So can I just jump?
Taking a step forward, you leap towards the edge of the pit.
This gives that blood ruby
How lucky are you feeling?
if I fall.
Rolling equal to or less than your luck score.
Okay, so I can do this easy.
Your armor and sword weigh you down, but you just manage to land safely on the far edge of the pit. You waste no time and head east. The tunnel makes a sudden left.
Okay, this is the statue room with the weird guy. If I get his answer, I get a stat boost, so I'm gonna open.
The door opens.
Yeah, question. And it's
The old
200.
man still small.
Right.
Only a few meters further down the passage, you see another closed door in the left-hand wall.
This is the parchment with the Manticore warning, right?
The door
It's a little...
opens into.
I don't think I can just teleport to whatever encounter. I think I have to actually go through all of this, so... Take the parchment. You gotta fight skeleton. Sorry, Doom Guide.
You dodge to the side as the
Okay. Attack.
you run around.
Attack. And win.
The skeleton is strong, but slow. You swing your
Once again, you. At the back,
Right. Okay. I ignored the mushrooms last time.
the tunnel continues west for several hundred meters.
Do I need to find the guy who calls me a weed? So, there's goblins here. Let's kill
You
them.
throw.
Slaughter these little bastards. These little green monsters.
You thrust your sword.
Right. I am full of skill.
You
Gotcha. In round 3. Oh no. Round 2.
your enemy is strong.
Okay.
You both swing for each other.
There's like no chance these guys can win. I just
You
realized
hurl
like,
yourself at your
it's
enemy.
impossible for them to hit me.
Fists flailing, and land a stunning blow.
Almost impossible. Now die.
You thrust your sword, and you clearly damage the ground.
Okay.
Your enemy is strong.
Attack.
You hurl yourself at your enemy, fists flailing.
Triumphant in one of your toughest battles to date, you see that the only furniture in the goblin's room is a table, 2 chairs, and a cupboard on the wall.
This is the mallet and
The cupboard
spikes, but it doesn't help me, so. From here, this is where the sapphire is.
The door open.
Open a door.
You enter a room.
We get the info from this guy. Cut him free. He tells us about the gems. I don't know if that's
There's
gonna
an
help,
open
but
pipe
it might.
in the-
Okay, this is where the sapphire is.
The pipe.
Okay, crawl back out.
There is
Wear the necklace. This is only good. This is
the necklace.
just a straight buff.
The tunnel will soon.
Okay, so I don't want to go east. I want to go with the barbarian because I get called a weed. And what's the barbarian?
Although you are slightly uneasy,
I'm curious. Does he like betray me?
you tie the rope around your waist and take hold of the lighted torch given to you by Throm, as your barbarian ally calls himself. Taking hold of the slack rope, Throm lowers you slowly over the edge of the pit and down into the dark depths below. You can see by the light of the torch that the sides of the pit are extremely smooth. You drop about 20 meters before hitting the bottom of the pit. There, you see another tunnel heading north, and you call up to Throm and tell him of your discovery. He calls back, saying that he is going to tie the
Okay,
rope
he doesn't betray.
around a
Throm is-
protruding rock on the edge of the pit and will come down and join you. You hear him climbing down, and soon you are together again. Throm retrieves his rope
by shaking it off the rock, and you set off north.
Right, okay.
On a stone ledge,
So there's no point in doubting Throm here. Okay, so I want these.
as you open
These give benefits.
the book page,
Gotcha. Like this.
the liquid is a magical potion that will enable you to detect hidden traps. Setting off,
2 luck.
you continue your journey north with Throm.
Okay, this is the
The
orc fight, right? Or sorry, troll. Cave trolls, okay. We have a cave troll. Okay.
The troll swings low.
Damn. Jesus,
the troll
okay.
grabs
I have tons of HP, so I'm not worried.
you. Drop to the ground.
Nice.
You look.
Okay. Bring on, this gives strength. I think I'm capped though, I don't think I can go high up though. Or is this endurance?
Your body
This
continues
is
to
health.
vibrate. The
Right,
tunnel.
okay. Okay, this is a trap room, so we're just gonna straight for the archway. Okay, we'll do the test. It's the long part again. That's Nate. This is luck.
The dwarf looks at the dice.
Not very good at playing the odds.
Okay. What did the S pill do? This fucks me up, right? This fucks up my luck. I have 2
The
potions
pill
of
makes you
luck,
feel
so
as though the whole. With lightning speed,
okay. And the Minotaur. This is easier, the fights.
the Minotaur's
This combat reminds me of the Champions rule set.
the Minotaur. The dwarf.
Just how
crawls
fast and
down to
snappy
the
it is.
balcony.
Okay, this heals.
The food and drink. After about 20 minutes, the dwarf reappears on the balcony. He calls.
Okay, this is the Throm fight. I'm coming for that end, Eddie.
You.
Gonna see the end of your dungeon. I have all the gems, or 2 of the gems anyway.
You drop to the.
I'm hoping.
Exhausted by your long duel, you fall to your knees.
Walk into the tunnel. I'm gonna fight the dwarf.
The tunnel.
Because I
Soon
can't go higher than
divides
12
into
strength,
2.
so. Okay, so. It's west here, right?
There is a large panel of glass in the left-hand wall of the tunnel.
Okay, I don't care about this. The crown is a fake. There's no diamond on the crown. T-West.
Ahead, in the far distance, you hear the sound of slow footsteps coming towards you. Unsure
Oh,
of
I
who
didn't talk
or
to
what
this
might
guy.
be approaching,
Okay, who is this?
a crippled man with shackled feet shuffles into sight, carrying a wooden tray laden with bread and water. He looks tired and miserable, and quite unmoved by the sight of you, and tries to walk past.
Take the water and bread off his tray. Just take his fucking food. Offer sight versions, talk to him. Talk to him.
He looks at you warily when you tell him you are a contestant in the trial of champions. You ask him what he is doing in the tunnels, and he replies, rather reluctantly, that he is a servant of one of the trial masters, Baron Circumvit's appointed controllers of the sections of his dungeon. After chatting for a while, he admits that he would like to escape, but no one is allowed to leave the dungeon in case they reveal the secrets of its construction. He tells you that he hopes one day to bribe his way out, and that for 1 gold piece,
He will tell you where some treasure is hidden.
I think I know where the treasures are, but I wonder if he has any other advice.
He takes your gold piece and tells you that in a northern tunnel, there is a wooden chair carved in the shape of a demon bird.
Right. I sat in that
In
before.
the arm of the chair
I guess
is
the
a
pearl,
secret
right?
panel which contains a potion
Oh, no, the
in
potion.
a glass vial.
Okay. The doppelganger.
It's a doppelganger potion, if I remember right. Good luck. I hope we meet again outside these infernal tunnels. The man shuffles off, and you continue your journey. After a short while, you arrive at another junction in the tunnel, with a choice of 2 directions.
Okay, so north here.
Set back in the arched
I don't know why it
alcove in the
would. Why would it
tunnel
give me
wall,
the doppelganger if I
you
couldn't
see
use
an
it?
ornate
Right?
wooden chair.
So it must be past that door I can use it. I hope. Oh shit, I should drink my luck potion. There we go.
Remembering the old man's advice, you search the arm of the chair for a secret panel. You find an almost invisible crack in the arm, which you start to press and squeeze. Suddenly a tiny panel springs.
Right.
The words of the spirit girl's poem flash through your mind. When corridor doth water meet, do not make a quick retreat.
Ah, okay.
Of course, it is here that she wants you to dive into the water. Now, you must decide what to do.
Okay. If there's no diamond on the other side of this water, then I'm done. Dive! We dive!
Somewhat nervously, you take a deep breath and dive into the dark pool. The northern wall does not project very far beneath the surface of the water, and you decide to take the risk to swim under it. Soon, you start gasping for air and are forced to swim upwards. Trying not to think that you could be trapped in an old submerged tunnel, you are relieved when you surface into cool air. You are on the other side of the wall and can see the tunnel rising out of the water and continuing north into the distance. You wade out of the water and check if you've been lucky with the contents of your wet backpack. 2 portions of your provisions are saturated and are now inedible. Other than that, all your other possessions remain intact.
Okay, nice.
You repack them carefully inside your backpack and set off north again. A little way along on the left of the tunnel wall, you reach the entrance of a large cavern from which you hear a girl's voice crying for help. You can just make out the shape of a human figure rolling about on the floor at the back of the cavern.
Shit, okay, so this is an entirely new route. This is a hidden route in the dungeon. Okay. Enter the cavern, investigate.
As you approach the prostrate figure, you see she is an elf, one of your
Oh,
rivals
she's one of the
in
other
the Trial of
contestants.
Champions, and she is fighting for her life in the bone-crushing grip of an enormous boa constrictor.
Damn. Good luck. No, we're gonna help her fight it.
With one swipe of your trusty blade, you behead the boa constrictor.
Slashed.
You uncoil its massive body from around the elf and try to resuscitate her. Her eyes open a little, but you can see that there is no hope. She looks at you and smiles, and then says in a whisper, "Thank you. I know it's too late for me, but I will tell you what I've learned. Your way out lies ahead, but you need gems to unlock the final door.
Right.
One of them is a diamond,
Right.
but I do not know what the others are.
Shit. Well, I know what the others
Alas,
are. Emerald
I
and a
have
sapphire.
not found a diamond, but would urge you to look for one."
Thank you. That is exactly what I'm trying to do.
Her eyes close, and she slumps down onto the cold floor. You watch sadly as she breathes her last. Knowing she would not mind, you take 2 of her daggers and search her leather backpack.
I don't know what
Inside,
weapons are for.
you find some
can't change
unleavened
them.
bread, a mirror, and a bone charm in the shape of a monkey.
Monkey? Okay, give me 1 second here. I need to grab something to drink real fast. Okay, sorry. I have returned with my handy dandy water. Take a sippy. All right. So I could take the bread, the items, tunnel, or the charm. I want the monkey charm.
Walking along the tunnel, you notice an iron grill in the floor.
Iron grill. Okay. What's under there?
Lying in a hole about a meter deep, you see a grappling
The
iron.
chair goes insane,
in a
right?
pouch.
Look at it. It's like a fucking throne. Grappling iron leather pouch. Okay.
You reach down into the hole and suddenly your blood runs cold as you feel something warm and sticky wrapping itself around your arm. You manage to pull your arm out of the hole, but a hideous tentacled limb with
Oh no.
unbelievably strong suckers is clinging to you. By the time you manage to cut yourself free, your arm is trembling with pain, and you wonder whether luck is on your side.
Of course it's on my side. I've got an overdone fucking luck stat.
Having
I
had
can't
the
fail luck
sense
anymore.
not to put your sword arm into the hole, the effects of the tentacled arm are not too serious, meaning you only lose one
It's a
skill
wizard
point.
that I saw. Waters
You
that chair.
reach back into the hole
It is chair of
and
rich
pull out the
Corinthian
grappling
leather.
iron and the leather pouch. Inside the pouch, you find a tiny brass bell. You pack away your new possession
Tiny brass bell.
and continue.
What are these items for? Is what I'm wondering. Why is it giving me
A
these
door
items?
comes into view in
I
the
can't use.
left-hand wall of the tunnel. You listen carefully at it and hear nothing. The door is not locked, and the handle turns easily.
Well, shit. What's on the door?
The door opens into a small, dark room, which is empty apart from a sturdy wooden chest lying on a shelf on the far wall. The floor is thick with dust, and you can clearly see fresh footprints leading from the door to the chest and back again. You wonder whether one of your rivals is still ahead of you on the walk, or whether the chest has only recently been placed on the shelf by one of the trial masters.
It's the fucking. If that diamond is in here, oh man, I was gonna open the chest anyway. but-
Although you cannot see any visible trap,
I have the
you
trap
have a strong
detection.
feeling that the chest contains a hidden danger.
Oh.
The potion of trap detection
Oh,
is
okay.
working well. You stand to one side of the chest and lift the lid with your sword, holding it at arm's length. As the lid rises, an iron ball hanging on a cord swings back and breaks a glass capsule fixed inside the lid, instantly releasing a gas. Fortunately, you have time to jump back without inhaling the poisonous fumes. Once the gas is cleared, you walk back to the chest and look inside it.
Nice. Yeah. What is it? Diamond?
There is a pendant chain lying
diamond.
in the bottom,
Give me the diamond.
but somebody
Eddie?
has taken the stone from
No.
its center. You feel so annoyed that you throw the chain onto the floor and storm out
Son
of
of
the
a
room,
bitch.
up the tunnel.
the tunnel starts to widen, and ahead, you see it's opened into a huge cavern from where you
Why
can
do you do
hear the
this to me,
sound
Eddie?
of many high-pitched voices. You creep up to the entrance and take a look inside. There are about 20 tiny people with long noses and ears running in a
Imps?
circle around a large golden effigy.
Holy shit. Oh, the doppelganger. I can finally use it.
You pour the contents of the glass vial into your mouth and swallow the clear liquid. Although you do not feel any immediate change, you hope that the potion will create the illusion,
Okay.
that you are a troglodyte,
What are you?
just like the ones in front of you. Taking a deep breath, you step boldly
Do I
into
look
the
like a
cavern.
troglodyte? Do I
The
sound
troglodytes
like a
continue their
troglodyte?
tribal dance,
Do I
believing
walk?
you to be one of them.
Like a troglodyte.
You walk past them casually and head north. Unfortunately, the effects of the
Started
potion
just
are
beyond
short-lived.
lynchy.
Suddenly, you hear a shriek behind you as one of the troglodytes spots you, and you are forced to run across the cavern floor. Ahead, you see an underground river running east to west through the cavern, and a wooden bridge crossing over it.
I don't know where the water goes. Wait, let me look at the map. There is no point where this water goes to the final room. Right? There was no secret entrances here either. I guess we'll take the bridge.
After crossing the bridge, you run across the cavern floor. At last, you see a tunnel in the far wall, which you race down until you reach its end at a heavy wooden door. The door is locked.
Eddie! Did I get eaten by
The
troglodytes?
key turns
Oh, the
in the
key!
lock, and the door opens
Yes.
into a four-way intersection of the tunnel. There is nothing to be seen, either to the east or to the west, apart from the now familiar ceiling crystals giving off their dim light. And suddenly you hear a voice calling you. This way, this way. You are on the right track. It seems to be coming from somewhere directly ahead of you. Your curiosity gets the better of you, and you decide to walk towards the beckoning voice.
Finally, some
The
help.
tunnel bends sharply to the right, and around the corner you
Help
see
me
a
out here,
little old
Eddie.
man with a long beard, cowering behind a large wicker basket. The basket is tied to a rope, the other end of which disappears into the ceiling. The old man sounds very worried as he says, "Do not attack me, stranger. I pose no threat to you. I am simply here to help you. If you will be so kind as to offer me some sort of remuneration, I will gladly haul you up in the basket to the upper level.
Payments, huh?
And believe me, that is where you ought to be."
I have a bunch of shit in my backpack, so I don't mind giving him something. So. I hope he doesn't kill me. I don't want to give him food. This is my last coin. Yeah, I'll give him. I'll give him the coin.
After paying off,
Because the only other
old
place to
man,
use my
you
coin
climb
is the
into
stilts,
wicker
but
basket
that's.
and watch.
I'm not gonna hit
As
the
he
stilts, am I?
tilts his head back and shouts, "Pull it up, Ivy!" The rope goes taut, and the basket rises jerkily off the ground. As you are hauled higher and higher, the old man calls out to you, saying, "You'll like Ivy. She's a nice girl. We call her Poison Ivy." He starts to laugh uncontrollably.
Is that
And you wonder,
He's not like-
somewhat
he
apprehensively,
tried to. He's killing me, isn't he?
just who is hauling you up. The basket goes through the ceiling, and you find yourself in a small chamber, face to face with an ugly old female troll. Her face is hairy and covered with warts.
Oh man.
With a huge hand, she reaches forward and hauls you out of the basket, which she lets fall to the floor below. She grabs you round the throat and says in a husky voice,
No, I
want paying. 2.
don't have any coins. I gave my last one to that other guy. Attack her with your sword? Does she want an object? Talk you out of giving her anything. Okay. Trolls is pretty dumb creatures, generally speaking. So, I think I could trick this troll.
You gaze around Ivy's room, seeing a painting of another troll hanging on the wall. You ask her if he is any relation. Suddenly her mood and expression change. She loosens her grip on you and smiles,
See?
saying, "Oh yes, that is my dear beloved brother Sourbelly. He has done very well for himself down south in Port Blacksand. He is now an Imperial Guard in Lord Azor's elite troop.
Damn.
I'm very proud of him." Ivy stares at the painting and continues to praise her brother.
What about change the door next wall? I don't want her to get pissed off and attack. Okay, let's continue. Let's try to keep
Smiling,
getting her to talk.
you tell Ivy that you think she and Sourbelly look very alike. And then, while she stares admiringly at the painting, you pick up a broken stool, creep up behind her, and smash her over the back of the head with it as hard as you can. To your immense relief,
Oh man,
she slumps, unconscious.
just hit her with the WWE
to the
chair right to the head. Shit. What's in your room, Ivy? Let's search.
You
She's so
search
cold.
through the cupboards and boxes in Ivy's room.
Watch out, watch out, watch out!
You find nothing except an old bone, which you take with you. You leave the chamber by the east door. You find yourself standing at the end of a tunnel with a flight of stone steps leading downwards.
A lot of bones.
From the floor below, you can hear the sound of barking dogs. You take the bone
Yeah.
out of your backpack and throw it down the stairs.
Oh, the bone. Oh, okay.
The barking grows louder, changing to snarls
pup.
and growls
Use a
when the
bone.
bone lands on the floor. You walk slowly down the steps with your sword drawn and see 2 huge black guard dogs fighting over the bone. You run quickly past them and on down the tunnel. The tunnel veers sharply to the left and comes to an end at a high wall in which there is a door. You hear a ferocious roar from the other side of the wall, and you wonder what gargantuan beast could make such a noise.
Another monster? Where am I now? Okay, this is where the energy wall is, but... Oh, okay.
You have no choice but to open the door, as the wall is too smooth to climb. Taking a deep breath, you turn the handle and enter a sand-covered pit. There, standing some 10 meters tall on its huge hind legs, in front of large double doors in the opposite wall, is an enormous dinosaur-like
Holy shit, they
monster.
got T-Rexes!
It has a tough, mottled green hide and a mouth lined with razor-sharp teeth. Its jaws open and close with bones snapping power. And even you cannot help trembling as you approach it with your sword drawn.
Pit Fiend? Look like dinosaurs? Alright, I'm down with it, man. Shit.
You run to avoid
He's
the
got
looking
max
tail,
stats.
stumble,
We're good, we're good.
and with a speed you could never imagine from a creature this size, it tries to sink its teeth into your leg. But you move just in time. Neither of you are harmed.
Give me your Pit Fiend. Nice, nice.
You lunge at the creature's stomach with your sword drawn. It tries to move, but you land a painful
Excellent.
blow.
Another. The final round. This Pit Fiend will mean his... Oh, he's gonna
You
hit me.
seize an opportunity to
There,
attack
he
the
hit me.
creature's leg, but it's ready for you. Before you can strike, it pierces
still
your
killed it, though,
shoulder
which is
with
good.
its razor-sharp claw.
You are exhausted and sit down for a rest on the tail of the dead beast. Looking down at your feet, you suddenly notice an iron ring poking up through the sand.
An iron ring? Yeah, let's open it. What is this?
The iron ring is attached to a small trap door. It lifts up easily, and inside a small compartment you find a finely crafted shield made of the purest iron.
Ah,
Marveling at its splendor, you strap it on your arm,
very nice.
gaining you 1 skill point.
Nice.
You walk
So
towards the
I'm
double
capped again.
doors and push them open. The doors open into a tunnel running north. You close the doors behind you and set off once again.
Dinosaur Pit Fiend, so I was familiar with the game.
Walking along, you
Yeah, when
see
you
a
said
red
Pit
line
Fiend, I was like,
painted across the tunnel floor
Fucking T-Rexes.
and notice a sign on the wall which reads, "No weapons beyond this point."
What? No weapons? This is either going to kill me or it's not. Hold on. No. I worked hard for these
tunnel.
weapons.
Leads into a marble-floored hall with pillars rising right up to the ceiling. As you cross the floor, your footsteps echo through the hall. The hairs on the back of your neck start to prickle, and you soon sense unseen eyes watching you. Unknown to you, one of your rivals is hiding behind a pillar. It is the ninja, a deadly assassin dressed in black robes.
All right.
Without a sound, he steps out
Some
from
people
behind
might think
the pillar
ninjas.
and throws a star-edged disc at
Setting
your
like
back.
this, but
Instinctively,
nah,
an
this
inner
is straight
voice
out of
tells
wizardry.
you to
This
duck.
ninjas and wizardry.
But how
They
does
one-shot
your
you. They cut off your head if they crit. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna get hit
The
by that.
razor-sharp disc whistles past your head and bites deep into one of the pillars. Turning to face
Look at
your
him.
would-be assassin, you prepare yourself as he advances, his long sword
You
drawn.
Hayabusa. All right, first the ninja. I should be
The
completely
ninja
fine.
leaps at you, his sword screeching towards your head. But you parry and are able to kick the fighter directly in the stomach.
Boom! Again. Second round. Damn, he had a max roll.
The ninja is fast, whipping past you and landing a powerful blow in your back.
Last round. Nice.
You find a rock lying in the corner and throw it hard toward a pillar where the ninja is hiding. As he looks around it, the rock hits him agonizingly in the
There's
face.
still a rock in his fucking
You
head.
decide to search the
He's
ninja
dead. Yeah, I got him.
and find a cloth bag in the folds of his robes. Inside it is a flask of water, some rice wrapped in a palm leaf, a jar of ointment,
Okay.
and a beautiful
He had the diamond!
diamond.
Well, the food hasn't betrayed me so far. Let's check the, yeah.
The ninja's rations are basic but welcome,
Nice.
increasing your stamina by 1 point.
What does the ointment do?
You empty the contents of the jar into your hand and apply them to your wounds. Their healing powers take immediate effect,
Ah, okay.
and you feel yourself growing stronger, increasing your stamina by 3 points.
Nice, so he's just full of stuff that
You
it
leave the
helps. Okay.
hall, taking just the diamond. with
Yes,
you.
the diamonds. Finally.
The only possible way out of the hall, as far as you can see, is by using the chute in the northern wall. You decide to give it a go and climb into the chute. You slide down gently, landing on your back in another room.
Ah, okay. Okay, this is okay. So I had the last two fights: the Manticore and the Blood Beast.
As soon as you stand up,
Right. This
You're-
is which one's okay? It's Blood Beast first. I have the notes, so they don't get the initial attack off,
Again,
which is good.
the bulbous creature strikes.
But I think we're set. I think we're gonna Snake
You
Eyes.
swipe your sword, attacking the creature, but hit the edge of the pool with a clang.
I'm gonna see the end of this dungeon, Eddie. He told me he was gonna kill me. You know why he did kill me?
The creature launches its head out of the pool in
But I
front
told
of
him I'll see the end of this dungeon.
and reaches for you with its mouth. You plunge your sword into one of its many eyes.
Yeah, he's dead. Okay.
your
The
blade
destroyer.
strikes one of the blood beasts. The tunnel,
Hey,
You
Manticore
reckon-
fight.
you raise.
We had the shield and we had the notes, so we blocked the initial attack. Nice.
You seize an opportunity to attack the creature's back leg and manage to bury your sword deep into its thigh.
Excellent.
The creature
Yeah.
runs directly at you. You move too late, and the creature smashes you onto a wall, costing you valuable stamina.
I have tons of provisions. I'm not scared.
You lunge at the creature's stomach with your sword drawn. It tries to move, but you land a powerful blow.
As you are
Down
wiping
goes
the
the
Manticore's
Manticore.
blood from your sword, you are surprised to see a small man jump out from behind
Okay,
one of the marble
I'm actually gonna
pillars.
eat one of my provisions now.
He is dressed in a tight-fitting green tunic
Okay.
and looks quite harmless,
Yes, the gnome.
although you are wary
butt.
of the way he is holding an opaque glass ball with a shimmering green light. Greetings, he says cheerfully. My name is Igbot, the gnome, and I am the trial master for your final test.
Yes. Yes.
Needless to
I
say,
have your
my magical
gems.
powers are great, so you should not try to attack me. You may have learned during your quest that gems play an essential part in the trial of champions. The iron door in front of you is the victory exit, but there is only one way of opening it.
Watch him change the
Three
gems.
gems
I'll be
have
like,
to be
"Fuck."
put into the lock mechanism
get all six.
in the correct order. Each gem radiates a unique energy, which will trigger the mechanism.
Yes.
If you do it correctly, that is. But first, we need the correct gems. First, you will need an emerald.
We have that. The emerald.
The gnome smiles and says,
Yes.
You truly are a great adventurer.
That I am.
Now, you
not
will
my
also
first rodeo.
need a sapphire.
I got you. A sapphire. Sapphire? Sapphire. Yes.
The gnome.
Here you go.
Still smiling, says excitedly, Excellent. Just one to go. Lastly, you'll need a diamond.
I have a diamond. I killed
The
it.
gnome
I took it
jumps
off
in
the
air,
ninja. I
yelling,
killed
Well
it.
done! Nobody has ever managed to find all three gems before. Now get ready for the final test, which I will explain once and once only. As you can see, the lock on this door has 3 slots labeled A, B, and C,
Okay.
each of which is built to accept a specific gem. You have to put one of the 3 gems in each of the slots in the correct order. If you manage this at the first attempt, fine. However, if you put the gems in the wrong slots, you will be blasted by a bolt of energy from the lock, causing you injury. So choose carefully. I'm allowed to help you a
Okay,
little.
so it's a logic puzzle.
If you place one gem in its correct slot but get the other 2 wrong, I shall shout 1 crown and 2 skulls. If you place all 3 gems incorrectly, I shall shout 3 skulls. You'll be allowed to try again and again until you either succeed or die. Are you ready? You signal your readiness with a nod
Oh.
of the head and walk
Ready as I'm
forward to
gonna be.
place the 3 gems
We're
in the
fuck
slots.
boys, yeah.
For your first try, decide now which gems you will place in the labeled slots.
Okay, let's do what he's displayed. We have slot A, B, and C. We're gonna go emerald. And the Same order we found them. Sapphire. Diamond.
You just have time to hear the gnome yell, 3 crowns! Before the lock clicks.
Oh, that was it!
As the heavy door swings
Listen.
slowly outwards.
The max,
The
fucking
gnome
max your
rushes
luck.
towards it,
I'm telling you, man.
hurling the glass ball at your feet. Green gas escapes from the broken glass.
Wait, what?
I'm afraid we'll need to test your luck
Oh, bring it.
to see if you avoid inhaling.
I have over max luck. I have max luck +1. You can't win, Eddie.
Covering your nose
yeah,
and
look at
mouth
that.
with your hand to avoid breathing in the gas. You follow the gnome through the open door. You enter another tunnel, at the end of which is a welcome sight of daylight.
We did it! I did it!
Much to your surprise, you see the gnome lying dead halfway down the tunnel.
What?
A crossbow bolt
He's dead?
protrudes from the side of his
Someone
head.
shot him? He got executed?
The gnome, in his own bid for freedom, has fallen foul of Baron Sukhumvit's final trap. You walk past him and out into the brilliant...
He tried to leave and got shot. You stupid gnome.
As soon as you appear at the tunnel,
Yes!
a large crowd...
Bask in my glory.
shout.
My radiance.
You
Your
walk down a
champion.
path lined with jubilant
Has
people
arrived.
towards a small rostrum, and there, sitting under a colourful bamboo umbrella, is Baron Sukhumvit. He looks astonished.
He's gonna fucking kill
As
me,
if
is
he
he?
never expected anybody to come through his Deathtrap dungeon alive. Now the secret of Fang is known. As the Baron rises from his chair, you climb the steps to the rostrum, bow down before him, and watch as his cold eyes stare at you in utter disbelief.
I win.
You smile grimly as he offers you his outstretched hand. To the deafening noise of the cheering people of Fang, Baron Sukhumvit opens the chest containing your prize.
10,000
10,000
GP.
Then he places a
I'm
laurel
rich.
crown on your
I'm
head
wealthy.
and proclaims you the champion of Deathtrap.
I'm socially secure. I'm moderately well off. Nice. And there it is. And that is how you dive into a dungeon. On your knees, crawling and begging for mercy. Eddie Marsan. He's really good as a DM. He did a really good job narrating all that. Simple. Triple as that. Dedicated to the memory of our friend Andy Fitter. Deathtrap Dungeon. 1984. Damn. Fighting fantasy. That shows a trademark by Ian Livingstone. Voices Ian Livingstone, as I mentioned earlier, being one of the co-founders of Games Workshop, which most everyone is going to know as the Warhammer Company. Nice. Made it to the end. Easy game. Yeah. So easy, man. Did not die 1,000 times trying to get to the end. So, just curious. I'm not, that's all we're gonna do. I'm not that curious about the rest of the dungeon, but this loops around back here, so it doesn't matter whether you go left or right here. What does matter is if you get the emerald here, you get the riddle from the ghost girl first try. Yeah. I don't know what's up here. I don't know if this is a dead end. I also don't know what's to the right here. I'm curious because I took a wrong turn at one of these junctions before it was here. It just turned me back around after the encounter there. I'm curious if there's like an actual like long-term dead end. Like it just like if you go right here, you go off into wherever and it just after a bunch of encounters it just fucks you over and kills you. That would be a real ball twister right there. I didn't get a prop to go anywhere on the crossroad here either. I just automatically got told to go to the voice. But yeah, that was pretty good. I really liked that. That was really solid. I actually kind of like these interactive video adventures. I don't know if I would play these often. I like that a lot. It's very cool. Yeah, I don't know if I would play these often, but like every once in a while, they're pretty solid. Especially in this form. This is like playing D&D with a buddy. This is really cool. They're great once in a while. Yeah. I wouldn't like play these like week after week and stream them and shit, but every once in a while, they're relaxing to play.
The tunnel leads into a
and again, it
large
just sends you
room.
back to the main
Ceilings
last
supported by
save.
several marble pillars. As you enter the room, you see a strange beast to your right. It has the body
it
of
just
a
sends- okay,
lion
it sends you
with
back.
dragon-like wings attached to it.
I'll quit this game. Nice, very nice. So yeah, that was a nice, riveting tabletop adventure they managed to see the end of. Of course, you can leave it to me, your local swordman, to make it to the end of a given dungeon. All that practicing in Doom Guide dungeons paid off in the long term. Now then, it feels good to come back to streaming after taking a week off. I might stream Friday or Saturday. I haven't decided yet because I'm gonna be busy on Saturday. I might stream Friday or Saturday night. I haven't decided yet. It'll be spur of the moment, so keep an eye out. But thank you all for tuning in. Let me just check something here. Once again, I want to thank Doom Guide for the 5 gifted subs earlier. It was very, very generous of him. And that is where I'm going to call it. And I'm going to... I made a new song recently in the memory of my... in memoriam of my my late dog. Yes, I'm going to play it. I'll play it as I hit the I'll let it play in its full as I switch to the end screen, but it is called Beast of Angband. So hopefully you'd enjoy this. I already have the next song started. It's going to be much more lo-fi and much more, I guess, traditionally Dungeon City. I didn't notice it until recently, but the use of percussion instruments is kind of, I don't want to say a point of contention, but it's a point of much discussion in Dungeon City. I wasn't aware of that. I just put it in because I think it sounds good, but that's just what I do. Shit, wait, doesn't like it. But the next one is going to be much more soothing to listen to. At least that's the hope. I can all just do what you want. Yeah, I just make the music, man. If you want to listen to it, then listen to it. If you don't, well, then don't. But I had a lot of fun making this song too. So, thank you all for tuning in. Hopefully you had a good time watching Eddie screw me over at every possible chance that he could. And hopefully you also enjoyed watching me triumph over his Deathtrap dungeon. So, if I do stream again this upcoming weekend, it's probably going to be Trails in the Sky remake, because I fucking love that game. That's my comfort game. And that will be all for this week, so please enjoy the song. And as always, Wanderers, take care and farewell.